even in charge of drafting. Like, that's not Todd Monken's role. The guy who's in charge of drafting, Andrew Berry, said something very different, but you didn't believe what Andrew Berry said.
So I'm going to stick a guy who's a programmatic non-fit with the head coach. That's what I'm going to do, because obviously they are not going to see eye to eye.
What I'm saying is I don't know that he's a programmatic non-fit.
If I instructed you, I'm going to tell you right now. I know we're way over on
break. Great. That's a great way to throw people off the set.
Then I'll tell you
which is what the supplemental draft is all about.
I cannot tell. I've been mad at you before. If you were the head coach of the football team and I instructed you during the golf outing, go, hey, they're going to ask you about Brendan Sorsby. Don't say anything great. We might be going after this guy.
That's what it would sound like.
So you would go to personal attacks? That's how it sounds? You would do all that?
If I were Andy Berry, I'd say somebody understands what the supplemental draft is all about.
That's insane.
That's what you do. You don't want other teams to know that you might like the guy. That is 100% what you do. It's brilliant. Okay. Job well done.
All right. I'll turn it over to you guys. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima. It's Fat and Thin in the Morning with Sorsby Gate on the Fan.
I say do it.
No, don't do it.
92.3 The Fan, 2020 Sports.
Quarterback Brendan Sorsby not going to play this fall at Texas Tech.
10% off Pella products or no money down, no interest, and no payments for 12 months, plus an additional $500 off your project. Call 877-98-PELLA or visit PellaCleveland.com.
There's only one place to hear breaking Browns news. This is the radio home of the Cleveland Browns, 92.3 The Fan.
All right, later on today, 9:20, Justin Termini going to join us on the show. A lot of folks going after the James Harden trade lately. That'll come up later on. Obviously, it's Brendan Sorsby now, Brendan Sorsby tomorrow, Brendan Sorsby till the end of time. I love how I have to put you on the spot as much as you put me on the spot. Like, do you really believe that this is the right place for Brendan Sorsby, the Cleveland Browns?
Well, if we want to do putting on the spot,
well,
can I do the
spot.
old-time champions pose? I told you Sorsby was never going to play college football again. And people are like, why aren't you lighting Ken up? And I said, well, me and Ken are friends. I'm not here to light him up, but shh. Champions pose. Wow, Owen, it's been a long time since Ken's been this wrong, and I've been this right.
Pose, champions pose, up your nose with the rubber hose and a champions pose.
Please. I'm not being silly here. Did we really fight on whether or not he was going to play college football?
What? Yes.
I swear to God, I don't remember.
That was last
I'm not
week.
Trying to I understand that. I'm not trying to absolve responsibility
3 feet out
of it.
the door, Owen.
I'm not trying to absolve responsibility. I'm just trying to say.
Well, the door was left wide open.
Okay, fine. I guess you win. I think it's a terrible thing.
This is the only thing we were arguing about last week.
It's whether or not he would play for whether or not the Browns would want him. That's what I'm passionate about.
No.
I think it's a bad decision. I wish he would try to play college football. It would let him air the stank off him a little bit, and then I could reevaluate. It's not like I know I'm going to be pigeonholed today, and that's fine. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on social media for my own sanity.
Most people agree with you. They don't want anything to do with this kid.
Well, I want them to agree for the right reasons. I want them to agree because they don't trust him or the Browns together. I want them, because that's my reasoning for it. I'm willing to, if he played this year and he went out there, I wanted to use this season as a giant 1-year job interview with him. Have him go on the road, have him deal with mean college football fans. Like, they don't really get thrown out of games like they do in the NFL. You bring a couple signs to the NFL, they're going to take you out of there. And college football, it is mean-spirited in those stands, right at those players, in those places that he's playing at. I was all ready to see that. I wanted to see him at Nippert Stadium, the whole thing. Because if he were to go out there and stick it to these guys and go, okay, now we got somebody who's clearly a psychopath and can go out there and can lead and can win, and you know what? Maybe I'm open to this. Now it's right here. And I'm already dealing with a mess of a quarterback situation as it is. It's a mess, guys. It's an absolute mess. I'm already dealing with that right now. And I'm going to add another part of that mess to it and have them work their greasy situation out while I have to deal with this.
I feel like you just kind of gave the reason why you would go after him and spend
to add more craziness? To throw more gas on the fire?
Because you don't believe in these two quarterbacks. So because Ken Carman doesn't believe in these two quarterbacks, this is an easy dart to throw. He's going to be suspended for the first however many games of the year. And you don't have to wait. Like, think about how different this is if you have to go after him next year and spend quite literally a top 5 pick on him. This is like, some people are saying 3rd or 4th.
Do you believe that this could be, now if it's 3rd or 4th, like obviously my tenor has to change here, but I'm going on the premise that people were saying last week that it could be a 2nd round choice. And I'm thinking, if it's a 2nd round choice for a guy like him and you only get so far, I don't believe that they're going to do what's necessary and take that QB in the 1st round next year. See, that's my issue. I want the right guy. I've been stuck in purgatory for long enough. It's not where I'm not in this crazy hurry. I want to do it the right way, which I understand upsets a lot of people. But I'm not going to sit here and act desperate just because the Browns force me to act desperate. I'm going to hold myself to a higher standard here. So I want to see what he can do. I don't get that chance. So now I don't know. I don't believe I want to take that risk because I could see them seeing him in the building, seeing him at the end of the season, and saying, we are fine on the first round next year. You wouldn't do that. I don't think the listeners would do that. I think they'd turn right around and say, hey, we're drafting third overall. Maybe Dante Moore's our guy or whoever's our guy. I bet they'd be willing to do that, but I don't think the Browns are. I don't think the Browns would be, Andrew Berry or not. So if you make this investment in Brennan Sorsby, I'm not going to throw away the sheet, but I have to put the sheet at the bottom of the pile going, they're not thinking like that. They're buying in on Brennan Sorsby. They're giving up a second-round pick, they believe, for a first-round talent, and they're going to take the ultimate discount on a guy they think could be their franchise quarterback. You don't just give up on that in 1 3-month stretch from the end of the season to draft season. You can't do that. They won't do that. I don't believe they would do that unless he came here and he was an absolute, complete pig of a disaster throughout this time when he was in Cleveland. And it would be behind the scenes because we wouldn't know because you're still talking about a suspension.
Yeah,
if there's a suspension, when are we going to know?
I think it's considerably less risk taking him this year. Let's say they use a third or whatever. Some have said fourth. I don't know that you could get him there. I think it's considerably less of a risk taking him this year than, waiting a year. Obviously, we're never going to get that chance now to see him play or anything like that. But it's still a risk taking any first-round pick.
Of course, it's always going to be a risk. But I want to feel better.
That have been taken
Do
in the
we not
first
want
round.
to have more information and feel better about the risk?
You can feel better. It still might be an equal bust level. Like, that could still happen regardless. And then, in this case, you could take him and then turn around. If he shows any promise at the end of this year, you could turn around and take Jeremiah Smith next year with a high pick.
You could do all these things, but
you don't
he has
get
to be
that
able
chance
to,
if you
he
wait.
has to be able to prove that. And just because it could doesn't mean I want to steer it in the direction that it will. Yeah, all of it could be a bust. We've had plenty of busts. Just because it could end up that way doesn't mean I believe that I want to push it that way. See, that's where you and I are just differing here.
Here's what I want to know.
I think we're setting each other up for failure if we were to bring in Brendan Sorsby.
Look, everything they've done has been failure. So you could say they're setting up Arch Manning for failure a year from now.
Just because they did stupid things in the past doesn't mean I want to do it in the future.
And people will say he doesn't want to play for the Browns anyway. That'll be setting up for failure.
Just because they're irresponsible doesn't give me an excuse to be even more irresponsible.
But regardless of what they do, what plan of attack, there will be critics that will say that the Browns are setting this up for failure. It doesn't matter what they do. So we could sit here all day and say, taking Baker Mayfield, number 1 overall, setting him up for failure. Taking Deshaun Watson, setting him up for failure and trading for him.
You know very well it's different.
They've all set everything they've done for how many years since the Browns have been rebooted in 99 has set them up for failure. Well, my question is, you said it's not right for this Browns team. What Browns team would you ever say it'd be right to take Brendan Sorsby? There's no way, there's no situation that they'd be in where you'd be cool with them taking Brendan Sorsby.
I'm going to take him, and then I got to figure out what Sue L. Robinson's going to say. I'm just using a name. So I'm going to take him. I'll give up a second-round pick for him. I'm going to take him and figure out what Sue L. Robinson's going to say. And then, of course, there will be. She'll probably put it to like 4 games or something like that. God knows what. People will act outraged for whatever reason. Then Rodgers going to step in. By that time, it's already going to be Christmas. By the time that all happens, I'm not going to get a proper amount to see him. I'm not going to get a proper amount of time to see the guy. So now I have to go into next year basically flying blind. I got this quarterback. Do I take Jeremiah Smith and pass up on possibly, as of right now, 6 or 5 first-round QBs? Do I do that? Or do I still go after the most important position possible, knowing I just gave up a second-round pick for the guy? It doesn't add up. It doesn't. And again, you keep bringing up the past.
Is enough?
Just because they've done stupid things in the past.
Hold on. You were throwing out. I want to respond to what you said. How many games would be enough, do you think? Because New Orleans, they got 11. They got 11 games out of. Can
I get 11 games out of him?
They feel pretty good about it.
Well, they feel good about him going into this year. I don't know how they're going to feel about him going into next year. If they would have taken Tyler Shuck this year and he would have ended up playing 11 games this year, would they still feel the same way? Would they still feel that they could just pass up on a quarterback in next year's draft? It's pretty easy to pass up on QBs in this year's draft. Let's call it what it is. I mean, Ty Simpson was an argument. The only one that was number 1 with a bullet was Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah.
This was not a hard thing to go, oh, yeah, we got our guy. We're fine. Jackson Dart, I still think the jury's still out about him. Obviously, I think the jury's still out a little bit on Tyler Shuck. And though I was a little bit more impressed with him, I got to tell you, considering the age and all the other factors, that's beside the point. It's easy to pass up on this. Is it going to be as easy to do that in 2027? Now, they'll have 2 years. Maybe they'll change their minds, the Saints or the Giants, okay? That's all fair. But if I only got so much time, I have to leave it up to the whims of a judge. There was at one point we thought that Deshaun Watson was going to play the entire season, and then he ends up having to sit out 11 games. He wasn't the same quarterback when he came back, and part of the reason is that he can't figure out. And I understand what's alleged there is certainly worse than gambling, but my God, you know and I know that part of the reason he's changed is that I don't think can handle the criticism that's going on in the stands, the pressure that's going on around him. And I thought that this was going to be a golden opportunity when it comes to Brendan Sorsby
we agreed on this.
to answer
that
he's
challenge
not gonna
be able to do it now.
in big-time college
which is
football.
why you could get him at an all-time discount, which you wouldn't have been able to do a year from now.
And just because I can get him at a discount, just because, cheap sometimes is just cheap. And I don't want to take that risk. I want to do the right thing. 216-474-0092. Do you guys want Brendan Sorsby? He's coming out in the NFL draft, the NFL supplemental draft. His agent, his lawyers are doing all the work. Now, apparently, according to Tom Pelissero and everybody, his lawyers are going to be starting to work on the stuff of how, if, when he's going to be suspended. So we don't know even all that. But you guys want to take a whirl, go right on ahead. I just don't want to do it because his name isn't Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima on the Fan. Northeast Factory Direct and Northeast Factory Direct, right there in your home. I've been talking about the value of a lot of things here over the last 40 minutes. Let me tell you about value when you go to Northeast Factory Direct at northeastfactorydirect.com. You want to talk about great prices and something you really don't have to risk it on? Get on over there to one of their 4 great locations and shop online first. Patio season is officially here. And maybe you're a little late to the get-go. I know it's late June, mid-June.
unify behind the scenes. I think Texas Tech might be forced to not play this dude.
Since when have they ever done that?
I think the since when thing is thrown out the window with today's college football.
I totally disagree. I
think you are operating from a college football that might have existed 5 years ago. I think we are seeing how dramatically things are changing right before our eyes.
Listen.
That this might be one of the situations where this might be way more important than what the courts just did.
All right, I do remember that argument. You're right. Champions pose. I still think if he were playing, they would have played the games, but maybe they just decided, you know what, maybe it's just better to not tie this whole thing up in litigation. I'm gone. Bye.
Yeah,
but, you win. You do win.
This is crazy because a week ago, the NCAA's decision, we were all talking about, again, how feckless the NCAA is. Well, yeah, when a judge, which we're all at the whims of, we're all at the whims of one activist judge, as Bill O'Reilly used to say, Kenny, all the time when we watch the O'Reilly Factor. You
and I both watched the O'Reilly Factor at a different time when we didn't know each other.
That's right. That's right. It only takes one judge, and one judge made it so that this kid was going to be able to play. So what recourse did all these teams have? And yet they all did seem to get together and say, this is the only power we have. We have to make this a big deal because it just after Ken Paxton, right, the Attorney General in Texas, came out in support.
Senator, Attorney General.
Yeah, he came out in support of Texas Tech and Sorsby's ability to play. And then what did all these teams do? They got together again, and they're like, we have to unify. And I've never seen anything like it. It's crazy how much they did not want this to be the case. And you wonder, aside from Sorsby, what's the domino effect of this? Is this the only strategic organizing power that these temes all have is to make threats like this?
You end up being right, and I want to give you your glory for being right on that because you ended up being right about it because I think that they go, we have to be dogged about this because what's to stop our guys from doing it? And he might just be a precedent. Our guys might end up getting suspended or kicked out of college football because I did think that case would set a precedent to give the NCAA or give lawmakers the power that they would need, the situations that they would need to give the power back to the NCAA and to tighten up any of the loopholes that have been there that have gotten them sued over antitrust over the last decade now. Like, I thought that was going to be part of what helps them do these things. I said that much to you in a podcast 2 weeks ago after the show on the emerging podcast scene, which you could find on 923thefan.com. I thought that was going to play in. The Big 12, with this latest one, again, a 47-page complaint. And not having the opportunity to look over it, I mean, when you're reading that Pete Rose is cited, like a lot of this is, I don't think it's even to win. I think it's to bog it down and to push it back. So all of a sudden, if you have this that is pushed back where, well, he can't play until we actually go to trial on this. Well, just like that they were going to push back the appeal until February. Well, now all of a sudden, maybe you can't play until February until the appeal. So what the hell is the point? So you end up being right about this. Now, if I were a television executive, you and I both know entertainment,
this would have been amazing.
I'd be pretty pissed off.
This would have been amazing TV.
Yeah, I'd be pretty upset
I do feel we've all been gypped out of what could have been just an awesome extra storyline.
Cincinnati and Texas Tech in October is not the same now without Brendan Sorsby on there. It's just another game. And nut jobs like me or you might watch it and Phil Steele, but that's about it.
Is there a loaded roster? I know they've got this QB, Will Hammond, that did play in some games last year, but he's from Texas. He's another hotshot, whatever. But, we could have had Sorsby, and nobody, let's be honest, most people didn't know about Sorsby, a month ago.
And for people going into work, well, you and I did, and I knew that there was going to be something there, and, you got text. But I cannot stress this enough. This is not morality to me. It is not me saying this is bad for sport. It's not good for sports, but I'm not going to act like of the 255 guys who were drafted in April, you tell me none of them put a bet down on sports? I don't believe that. Or the year before that, or the year before that, or really the year before that either. Go back in history. They're all addicted to some adrenaline at some point, and gambling is part of that addiction of adrenaline there. It goes hand in hand. You're a quarterback, you live fast, there's a lot of things that play into it. I would have just wanted to see if he were reacting positively towards the criticism, leading his team.
I agree.
Going into big games, going to the playoffs for crying out loud. I'm telling you, Tone, I might have changed my tune, but because I don't get that,
you would have.
there
Yeah,
just
he would
seems
have
to be
been good.
too much of a risk.
Yeah. So,
Even if they would have went like, what's a good season for Texas Tech? 9-3. Well, with the roster, you're probably thinking 10-2, and with the rest of the Big 12 that doesn't consider Oklahoma and Texas, like if they would have been 9-3, 10-2, I'd have been like, look at how he played in some of these games. Look at what he did. Maybe he's worth the risk. Maybe he's not. Maybe I wouldn't change. Maybe I wouldn't change my mind on it. It is not some moral high ground here. I'm not trying to be sanctimonious. I'm just trying to do what I think is best for the franchise, and that to me right now is to pass on him.
Yeah, I'll grant you. The crazy thing about the supplemental, if this were a wide receiver, a running back, a pass rusher,
I'd be more apt to take a risk.
With character concerns, you're like, well, they're going to get a chance to talk to them.
Glad you brought it
up. Obviously, you always talk to all these players when you get FaceTime, and you try to sift through what's BS and what's real, which, holy cow, imagine that job with this kid.
Yes.
With all these NFL teams as competitive as they are, and just considering the position. That is what is so different. This is a quarterback who I think almost assuredly is going to have some sort of suspension coming into the league. I do think, you were mentioning Sewell Robinson and Watson, but Watson was in the NFL when these transgressions, or at least I should say accusations, occurred. In this case, he fessed up to it, but it was in college. Like if it were the NFL, I mean, Calvin Ridley got a year's suspension, right? Calvin Ridley got 1 year. What is the NFL going to do here?
What happens with Terrell Pryor? Didn't he go into the NFL with some sort of suspension?
Yes.
Am I missing another name? Because I'm thinking of Pryor.
Sorsby will be suspended. It's not going to be as cut and dry as, and it's funny, I say cut and dry. We had a month's worth of shows that proved that it wasn't cut and dry with Watson.
Hey, you know
we
what?
didn't know how many games it was going to be.
I'll meet you part of the way. How low is the suspension willing to go before I say yes? Go ahead and risk a second rounder on him.
What if it's 4? What if it's 4
I was thinking
games?
4 right off the top of my head.
I don't know what the NFL is going to do.
I was thinking 4 right off the top of my
I'm sitting here, and people are saying, well, aren't the Browns going to be in conversation with the NFL?
Building, though. Can I get him in the building?
We
Different than
went
what
through
Calvin
this with
Ridley
Deshaun
did.
Watson. We
I'm sorry.
went through this.
Go ahead, Owen.
How's it different than what Calvin Ridley did?
Well, just because one was in the NFL already, one wasn't.
He hasn't broken the NFL rule of gambling on the NFL while
The
he's in the
NFL already
NFL.
suspended a guy for a season.
You're right. Did Calvin already bet on his own team? Because
It said that he did a parlay that included the Falcons, which he was on the Falcons at the time, and that he was on a leave of absence, non-medical related.
Because I wondered, now you could open yourself up to some sort of a suit here, I'm sure. But you could go, well, I understand that these transgressions happened when you weren't in the NFL. You're in the NFL now. We expect more out of you.
Yeah.
You're a big story. You're going to sit. Now, I think that there'd be plenty of lawyers who heard me just say that sentence and go, you go right on ahead and try, and we'll meet you in court. But I still think,
Also
again,
the NFL.
it takes, but I'm on a time clock here as a Browns fan. Like, I need to see him.
I agree with you. This is
going into
pointless.
next year.
This is pointless. This is totally pointless if it's like a 12-game suspension. And by that, it's like, what, we're going to get like a 5-game window at the end of the year?
Because if I only get a 5-game window and he struggles, I'm going to go, we're drafting second. We are going to be taking Dante Moore. I don't care what the hell you did in the second round. I'll just use it as another argument to go after Andrew Berry. Sorry, you were going to say something.
Imagine if he played well, but it's 5 games. It's like, I don't know. It's December football. I've seen a lot of December football award winners that this is smoke and mirrors at the end of a football season. It's not the same as going out there the first 8 weeks.
Lima's open to him. I'm not. We'll get back to this coming up here in less than an hour. And I said 6 wins. Lima said 5. We got somebody who isn't even from Cleveland making a wild
Double that.
Browns prediction. And the reason why will stun you considering this last hour. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima. Take us with you to work on the free Odyssey app. Watch us on YouTube Live for absolutely free when you get to work.
This is an Odyssey Sports Minute.
Darren Peterson firmly believes that he's going to be selected number 1 overall.
to let him go after the year. Whereas with Shedeur, get him under contract for another 2 years after this one. Yes, you want to see what you've got, but I think there's a little bit less urgency on it.
Listen for the MMQB's Albert Breer, Tuesdays at 5:20 on Cleveland's Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan.
The fight. Let's cool off on the fight here for a second here. Emory Hunt wants to fight. Have you heard Emory Hunt lately?
We've gotten into it on social media, but very respectfully.
I thought you guys were like
past.
friends. I thought you guys were like friends.
I know we've had him on because
we've had him on. But I know that he's been a pro Shedeur guy.
Yeah,
and you necessarily haven't been that pro Shedeur. You haven't been that negative. But I thought you guys were like buds. I didn't realize that.
I think he is wildly entertaining.
We'll get back to the Sorsby coming up. You said 5 wins now after the trade?
Yeah.
I said 6, down from 7. You're 5 down from 6, right? I mean,
5 down from 6 is 1.
The Pittsburgh game. I'm just making sure. That's all. So here is Emory Hunt. He says something much different. CBS Sports HQ, courtesy of that outlet, but he was on Afternoon Drive. Emory Hunt was.
I did the schedule game as soon as it came out, and I said the Browns can win 10 wins. I listed off reasons why. In that clip that went viral, I said Myles Garrett. Now, obviously, a couple of weeks later, Myles Garrett gets moved, and so they had me back on to talk about the schedule game again. What made me go through the schedule and look at it again without Myles Garrett a part of the team was the fact that they got Jared Verse. And I felt like, okay, yeah, Verse is not Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is an all-time great, future first ballot Hall of Famer, but Jared Verse ain't no slouch either. When you look at what he can do, if you think about it from Verse's perspective, I thought I was entrenched in L.A. with how I played and what we did together as a group, and they viewed me as expendable. I'm about to go out here and ball out with the Browns. We might see him get his first double-digit sack season as a pro based on what he just went through in terms of getting moved for a guy in Myles Garrett. I still feel like the Browns have enough offensively and defensively to where 10 wins is definitely possible.
I'm actually banking on it that he gets his first double-digit sack season. I'm looking for 10. Aren't you? Out of Jared Verse?
Yeah, I think that's. I don't want to get crazy because I don't want people to start hating him because he doesn't measure up to a certain number.
10's not crazy.
No, it's not at all. So I think he's obviously. Maybe you watch him, but the thing is, it's how balanced he is. It's how he can do not just rush the passer, but he also stops the run.
He's a little bit more rigid than Myles is. Myles is a very bendy type of person. Can get down on the plane, get underneath a tackle. I mean, the one time I saw him, I think this was rookie camp. It looked like he was a foot. His chest was horizontally a foot off the grass. It was so impressive, and that was rookie year. And he's done nothing but get better since then. Yeah, I don't know if Jared's that type of guy. I think Jared's more of a bull rush type of guy. I think that's probably why he's better against the run than what Myles is. But regardless, I mean, if you want to say 10 wins, now's the time to do it. I think about 6 because of that quarterback situation. However, Emory is certainly much more positive about the Browns quarterback situation than what many are, and he actually goes after some of the media coverage on this quarterback battle.
I was surprised at the lack of layered questions. Because somebody said, well, Deshaun's out in front. Okay, explain how. And he never asked that question, because if you just ask one more question, you see their house of cards fall apart. It goes back to my initial argument. A lot of people was being disingenuous. They didn't like Deshaun Watson, but they don't like Shedeur Sanders more. They love the idea of this mythical QB in 2027, just like they did in 2026. But they saw that blow up in smoke after week 1 of the college football season. And so I never really bought into that because it hasn't been played yet. This is all junior Olympic testing and conditioning going on. Now they start to switch the tide and say, oh, he's catching up. They're saying he's catching up because they don't want to say, yo, I was completely wrong. And when I put out that statement earlier in the minicamp all OTA circuit, I still feel like Shedeur is a leader. Deshaun has to show that he can do this in games. Just showing from where he is from a health perspective and in a mental space. And I'm rooting for him because, again, we're talking about a guy that was on a Hall of Fame track before 2021. And I think that is hard for some people to forget. Deshaun has to show to himself that he still has it. He could kind of recapture a little bit of that spark that he had. But this is still Shedeur Sanders' team, in my opinion.
I want to agree with him on that. The only thing that I have to say I don't with is, And why I can't agree with him is because, it was the head coach's conversation himself who said he wanted to have a quarterback pick by the time training camp got here. That was his goal. And when he said that, how could the veteran not probably be, unless he shows that he can't throw the football, how could the veteran not be the guy who was the leader for the job? And once Todd Monken was able to open that up, now you've seen a difference. And I think part of that has been because hopefully Shedeur, and I'm hoping that he has picked up the offense, and also because I don't think that Deshaun Watson, from what I'm hearing, because I haven't been there, has not been able to take the reins of the job.
Listen, it would be so much easier if this were Shedeur
Sanders.
Watson
right there, right? No, okay, good.
It would be so much easier if it were Shedeur Sanders' team. It's not his team right now. Shedeur hasn't earned that in the slightest. If he had earned that, then there'd be no quarterback competition. He'd be the starter. And again, people don't like hearing this, but if he were a first-round pick and then performed well, or at least, wasn't at the bottom basement of every statistical category, then yeah, it would be his team. It's not because he didn't play well enough, and he was only a fifth-round pick.
It's
that does matter.
That to me, though, it becomes impossible because my first thought was if he's a first-round pick, then people would think he's a disappointment. But he wouldn't have been put in that position if he were a first-round pick. There's no Dylan Gabriel if he's a first-round pick. Yeah.
Emory disagrees with you guys, and he picked 10 wins, right? And Jonathan asked him, well, are you picking this with Deshaun as the quarterback or with Shedeur as the quarterback? This was Emory's answer. He said he picked Shedeur. He was making those picks with Shedeur as the starting quarterback of the Browns. Here's his answer to why it was 10 wins.
It's always fascinating how and I'm not talking about you guys, I'm talking about the people that are on my side of things that kind of pontificate and talk, how disingenuous many people are and how they're looking at this Shedeur thing with disingenuous eyes. If Shedeur was drafted in the first round, they talk about his 3-4 finish with the opportunity to go 5-2 to be like, wow, look at what he had. He barely had this and that, and they won 3 games. They should have won 5. But because he went in round 5, they're saying now, well, he threw 7 touchdowns and 10 picks. They lose all context, and they'll bring up QBR and all that stuff like that as if QBR matters when we watch Dylan Gabriel perform worse than Shedeur with better numbers. So that tells you how much QBR doesn't matter. But I'm saying all that to say this. With Shedeur out there, you have an ascending talent. You have a guy that played good football, solid football with, considering the situation. And now you have better offensive weaponry around him. He has a stable offseason.
That part I agree, but I think you guys are just going to break your brains if we sit here and keep going over the fifth-round, first-round thing. Like, one, you should be able to call him a fifth-rounder because if he ends up being successful, don't tell me the fifth round ain't a part of his bio.
It's an awesome story.
The man loves
the guy that slipped that the rest of the league didn't draft how many times over ends up being really good and a actual franchise quarterback out of the fifth round. That's amazing. That's awesome.
The man loves Tom Brady. You cannot say any. The bio starts with 6th round, 199 overall. That's where it starts, and that's where it finishes. It might be on his headstone for all we know by the time it's all said and done. So you can't tell that story. But if he's a first-round pick, he's not out there at the end of the year like that. There's no Dylan Gabriel bridge to Shedeur Sanders from Joe Flacco. Now, maybe Joe Flacco still starts the season, but because you might not think he's ready to start the year, but there's no Dylan Gabriel. There's no weirdness. He's not throwing to ball boys there. So I can't compare how we would feel if he were a first round to a fifth round pick. You understand what I'm saying? I just think I think it's a worthless argument.
I don't know why they're still having that argument. I'm just going to call it what it was. He was a fifth round pick. If he were a first round pick, I'd be saying first round pick.
When people
That's
say
how it works.
Fifth rounder, they meet it in a nasty fashion. You don't have the best bedside manner.
Is it brought up that way with Brock Purdy?
And that's the exact point I'm saying. He's Mr. Irrelevant. Well, Mr. Irrelevant went on and got a $200 million contract. When people are talking about him being a fifth-round pick, I think Emory is arguing with people who are dismissing him as he's a fifth-round pick. The NFL thinks he sucks. That's why he was a fifth-round pick. See, that is going to bother a guy like Emory. It's going to bother a guy like me. But if you just break it down and say it's a fifth-round pick, I understand this.
If the league would have thought he was better and was worth taking in the first round, he would not have gone in the fifth-round pick.
But I can't fight that with what if he were a first-round pick? Because if he were a first-round pick, the numbers would look tremendously different.
But he'd have a longer leash. I mean, the first-round picks always get a longer leash. That's why you also have to mention.
And he would have been in earlier.
That's why you also have to mention he was a fifth-round pick.
And he wouldn't have been fourth on the depth chart. He wouldn't have been throwing to trash cans. He wouldn't have been throwing to ball boys. It hurt him
that he was a fifth-round pick. That's how it is. Nothing's carved out for you.
So that's why
when you're a fifth-round pick, and that's why it's relevant.
He's a fifth-rounder. At some point, I have to accept that, and I have to move on. I don't think it has to be a negative. Because I can look at it and go, hey, he was a fifth-rounder last year, and he's competing with a guy that they paid $230 million to be the starter of this football team. But we just want to focus on all the nasty stuff about it. But that's the way it goes.
The other thing is the record. He's got. You want to talk about disingenuous? He loves using that term. He always uses that term when he comes on.
I love how everybody's going on the wrong show. I want to hear these two go at it.
We've had him on. We have had him on.
I love it.
But the most disingenuous thing ever is to talk about those wins at the end of the year over Pittsburgh and Cincinnati as if he had anything to do with those wins. He had nothing to do with those wins. That was
Son had to throw the passes.
So Mitch Trubisky, was he the reason his team went 12-4?
Mitch Trubisky got another year because of that, though. Mitch Trubisky got another year because of that, and he was number 2 overall.
And what did they do? They immediately yanked the job from him the first chance they got because they didn't believe in it, because it was fool's gold. He had a lot of other things working in his favor during that time. Well, the problem for Shedeur is he doesn't have Myles Garrett working in his favor to earn those wins like he did at the end of last year, where Shedeur did not play well in those 2 games. There are no numbers that show that he played well in those 2 games. We don't have to lie. We don't have to be disingenuous, to use his terms, that he won those last 2 games.
You keep being that way, he ain't going to come on with us.
I'll say it to his face. I think I said it last time to his face.
Tough talking tone.
He loves using that term.
This is the most important week of the season, with or without Jose Ramirez. That coming up, and also about last night, the upset of all upsets. But can you call it an upset if it's just a tie? Ken Carman, Anthony Lima on The Fan. Classic Mazda, East Side, West Side. Folks, doesn't matter. If you're on the East Side, visit Classic Mazda East Side on Center Street in Menor. If you're on the West Side, visit Classic Mazda West Side on Brook Park Road. You are going to have, it's almost impossible to say this, but it's possible when I'm talking about Classic.
yet to say what the results of those tests were. You can now find 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Get the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
This morning, Ryan Wilson going to join us on the show. Ryan Wilson, CBS Sports, will get what he thinks, whether or not this is all just a big June hullabaloo, because we've had plenty of stories that have come out in the NFL where it's June hullabaloo. And I want to know from a guy who scouts him, Ryan's one of the best, hosts a show with Rand Carthon, is Brendan Sorsby going to be worth the squeeze if they go ahead and do it? Because I'll tell you this, and I know you want to get back to Shador, and I got to say something about Jose. It did concerned me when I saw the Mary Kay report.
Why?
Browns are not really interested. I go, that means they're interested. Damn it.
Not because you think she's lying.
No, hell no. No.
I just want to be clear.
No. Shut up. Everybody knows I know. I don't think Mary Kay's lying.
Mary Kay can pick up the phone and talk to people in the Browns organization.
Pick up a phone, call us right now if she wanted to. I mean, that's Mary Kay. It's not that. But how do I put this the right way? Where it doesn't come off as nasty because I love her. You remember the Sam Darnold thing?
Yep.
Okay, I've been used as a pawn before. And as a person who has been used as a pawn and made a public ass out of myself being used as a pawn by somebody who I still like, they needed to do their job. They needed to flush out where the leaks were. Mm-hmm. I will tell you this, that I am sensitive to these things. And so immediately when a story comes out after Brendan Sorsby's like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the NFL, we're gonna go to the supplemental draft, and immediately it comes out that the Browns aren't very interested, I go, oh boy, I think they're probably interested. Because it still goes without reason. Are you guys like, I'm not for it. I would not make this move. Am I interested? Yeah. Look at our QB room. Look at our QB situation. Look at the move the Browns just made. That tells us all what they think of our QB room. I don't care what anybody says. They're telling you. So if they're making that move, you don't just trade the best player for one of the better players. You don't just do that. Okay? They have a good quarterback. They went after the best. If the Browns thought we had a good situation at quarterback, they'd just hold on to the best. So let's make that abundantly clear. Because of that, it means I have to be interested. Doesn't mean I want to buy. Doesn't mean I want to make that investment. And I don't want to make that investment right now in Brendan Sorsby. Maybe Ryan can help me change my mind coming up at 8:20, or maybe he will just confirm my suspicions. Because I think that, to me, as a Browns fan, as a person who wants to fix this quarterback situation, even though most of you don't believe that sort of thing, because we talk about QBs in this city more than we talk about taxes and everything else in the world. We talk about our own children. I mean, Lord Almighty. I want to fix this situation, but I want to do it right. I'm not just looking for the next desperate hole to climb into when it comes to Brendan Sorsby. Can I say another thing real quick? Mm-hmm. I know we're flying out. Did you want to say anything about that before we go?
Real quick. I know
we got Shador to come up. I wanted to say this thing about.
If we find out another team got Sorsby with a second-round pick, or got a first-round pick, which nobody sees happening.
I'll watch him like a hawk.
I'm not gonna sit here and rue my days as a Cleveland Browns fan and say Andrew Berry should be canned or whatever. I've already done that in years past.
Yeah.
Nice having Andrew on Friday. But I'm not going to do that. Like, I don't think this is a must. They have to. They're idiots for not, because we don't know so much of the sickness part of this, right? Like, we haven't gotten a chance to talk to Brendan Sorsby. Mm-hmm. The Browns haven't gotten a chance to talk to him either. And then the talent part of it, we'll have Ryan Wilson on. But you're just seeing more and more people talk about how talented he is. Mm-hmm. So I am curious. Now, everybody's doing a deep dive on him because he'll be available.
And I want to know, I do want to know because we're kind of in the same boat as Arizona, New York, and Miami. I want to know what they think of him today. Yeah. I do. I want to know. I don't know much about Arizona or Miami sports when it comes to their content. I want to know what they're saying over at FAM in the midday. I want to know what Evan Roberts thinks of Brendan Sorsby and whether or not he wants to take a swing. Because I want to see what other teams that are desperate for quarterbacks are saying, what their fan bases are saying, what their media who are fans are saying about that. Can I get this off my chest? Most important week of the season for the Guardians. Most important week. And that, I think, is with or without Jose Ramirez. It just is highlighted that much more with Jose Ramirez being out. You have a lot of people lining up to say that they're not necessarily sure how this is going to work out for the Guardians without Jose Ramirez. I understand that this could have been looked at as a giant rebuild because a giant rebuilding season where you have 2 rookies that are playing for your ball club and you have Parker Messick who's out there pitching for your ball club there. I mean, those are 3 rookies in 2 big situations here. Even if you still had Jose Ramirez, it's a big week with who you're playing, with who you're getting ready to take on. Because June is a very tough month. I got Chicago at the end of this road trip. And then remember, by the time July 4th weekend gets here, I have Chicago for 4 coming up here. So it's really not just a week. This is a 2-week stretch that I think could honestly, Tone, could either make or break the season for the Guardians.
It's huge. I don't want to get crazy. Because like when you said it, when it came out of your mouth, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty damn big week for this ball club. And you know how quickly in baseball things can go south in a hurry. And if they don't have Jose to continue to look over to save them or anything like that, then, yeah, you could understand that things can go south. Mm-hmm. But I feel like it won't with this team.
Well,
and I know we've been talking a lot about that.
I feel that way, but there's a lot of people out there who don't. I got to tell you, there's a lot of people out there who are really doubting, saying this is really bad for the Guardians here. And I know that you and I have looked at it and we're like, hey, let's circle the wagons here. Let's see what the young guys can do. Like it's a hit. It's a huge hit to the organization to not have him there. Now, I've used the whole thing like, hey, he's not going to end up like Juan Soto and not be around the team for the next 7 weeks. Like it ain't going to be that. But I do want him to come back to a situation because if things do go that poorly, then you start to flirt with other ideas about Jose Ramirez's future for the rest of this season, I should say, as far as, okay, depending on how he reacts to this, do you flirt with the idea of shutting him down? I don't think it would come to that. I don't think that the division will allow you to do that, but there's people who certainly disagree with us when we say these things about Jose Ramirez or about the organization without Jose Ramirez.
Yeah, look, they've got 2 rookies in the lineup that, you know, you're wondering, are they going to be able to counterpunch to the counter that's already been administered, right? Like the big league pitching has certainly made their adjustments to DeLauder. They've made their adjustments to Bazana. And, like, what will the rest of the year? There's so many games left. And, you know, DeLauder has never played this many games in his entire career at any level. So is he hitting the rookie wall too? Like, will he hit the rookie wall?
Well, that's a way to put it after what happened over the weekend, hitting the rookie wall.
I know.
But fine.
I know. I didn't mean it like that. But, yeah, I hope I hope, obviously, that he's able to, you know, be able over there's so much time left in the baseball season that he's going to be able to readjust because you're going to be relying on these young guys now. You have to. You have no choice but to. So that's the big mystery when it comes to how they're going to deal with the Jose injury. And obviously they're getting Arias back, and we were wondering, are they going to find room for him? Well, now that opportunity opens up, and I'm actually excited to see, you know, how he deals with all this.
Well, so you're still bullish on the Guardians.
Yeah,
I assume you are. I just want to make sure you're on the record. I am, but
part of it is, man, this division in the American League looks so gettable that if they can tread water, if they can just, do you think they could go 500 during this run?
I think I'd be very happy if they could go 500 during this run because then they'd still be over 500 for the season. And you're playing against the White Sox. You know, I mean, I keep talking about the next 2 weeks. It would still be another month for Jose to come back, but just the schedule is just so damn difficult here over the next couple of weeks. And I think you and I have been positive. I think that other people here have been positive. But you look at what Harold Reynolds says from MLB Network. I mean, this is a guy who knows it. There's a lot of people who think that we're going to get ready to raise the white flag on the season here in 2026.
I don't see it happening. They're going to hang around, but they're going to have to do it for, it's proven now, 4 to 6 weeks. We watched a number of guys even this season come back, but he's just too much. And it's not just the production on the field, it's the leadership. This guy brings a moxie, a character, everything. So it's going to be hard to do. I love what the young guys are doing, and maybe guys have stepped in their game a little higher, but that's the tough one.
You know, you look at both situations. Now, the Brown situation is obviously much different from the Guardians top down, but you lose a guy who's going to be a Hall of Famer. Miles is a Hall of Famer. Jose is a Hall of Famer. this is your chance. Now, Jose was a real leader. Now, we know I never really accused Miles of being a real leader, so that's probably where it ends. But there's still production. There's still what he protects around him, what he's not able to do now because he's not in that lineup. This puts more pressure on guys there at the top of this lineup. It puts more pressure up and down because now, you already looked and saw they bumped up Rocchio before they had the rain delay. I think Rocchio would probably be back down at number 9, wouldn't you think, Owen, since Angel Martinez should probably be back in the lineup tonight against Milwaukee?
Yeah, probably.
So you would assume that Rocchio is probably back in the lineup there. But you're still going to put more on him at the number 9 spot. You put more on everybody there. And I got to see whether or not they're ready to respond to that challenge.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm pulling for him, but I just don't know yet. They haven't been tested like this.
Get if people are abandoning ship. I think it's far too early for that, especially after what they did last year.
I don't think Guardians fans are. I do think the media is, but I don't think fans are.
I don't know.
There
were some Guardians fans. I didn't like what I was seeing. Just as recently as when they got swept by the Yankees, they were acting like, well, that's it. This team has no chance to win a World Series. And I'm just like, did they not earn anything with you, the fans? Did they not build any trust with the fans after coming back from 15.5 down in July last year? Because if that didn't build trust, then I guess maybe this sport isn't for you.
But there were still those folks who, and I respect a lot of them, they were saying that before the injury with Jose. Now that they have the injury with Jose, it's almost like an excuse where now they don't have to be the bad guy. If they felt that way, they felt that way. They stand for what they say. I'm not going to use Jose as a convenient excuse. But I think that the last several years have bought some sort of currency with me emotionally to say, hey, wait a minute. I know that this is a huge blow, and it is. That's why he is who he is. That's why his number's going to be retired. That's why we'll build statues. Let's not act like this isn't some big loss. It's a tremendous loss. But because of the way the organization has been over the last decade plus, I got to see how they react to this. I got to see the benefit of the doubt. And it's turned into tonight being one of the most anticipated games I think I've seen of them all year because you're taking on a really good team in Milwaukee. They're up there at the top of the NL Central. They're 5 games ahead, at least they were yesterday. They're right up there at the top of the NL Central. I want to see how they respond to this because, again, this is a 10-day road trip here where maybe it can be better to go away, but I want to see how they react to it without Jose because if you lose tonight, then all of a sudden maybe you lose tomorrow. Then all of a sudden we're having weird conversations here about can you get back out there and do it? Because you even had Jose and you scuffled there for a week. You had lost 4-6. You finally got things, or 6-7. You finally got things back on the right track against Detroit. I want to see how things go tonight and then over the next 10 days. I think it will say a lot about who this team is. You got to stay healthy, but I think it'll say a lot about who this team is. And then going forward, once we get into the month of July, things should get a little bit easier. Then you're feeling a lot better because now we're looking forward to the return of Jose once we get his scheduled surgery and everything else worked out.
Look, I feel like this team has proven over the last decade plus they can battle adversity. They can battle anything. It's why I give them the benefit of the doubt. I am in a weird way. It's terrible not to have Jose because we were waiting for him to really get out of his funk and start to play like an MVP, which he hadn't done this year. I mean, he just flat out hadn't. And so this complicates things, and I wonder what that's going to be like when he comes back. But in a weird way, in a perverse way, I am excited to see what the young guys now do without him, because Jose's not going to be here forever. Jose's not going to be performing at a high level and an MVP level forever. You can't just rely on that. You got to have other guys step up, and so this now provides ample opportunity to see if they can do just that.
How the Cleveland Browns helped the New York Knicks win the NBA Finals this year. I'll tell you how, coming up in 5 during About Last Night on The Fan.
The real estate market always in flux, but if you notice, more and more signs popping up all over Northeast Ohio. So is this a good time to sell? There could be a lot of competition going on. Well, I can tell you who can put you in an advantageous position. That, of course, is Ryan Young, Keller Williams Greater Metropolitan. Got a chance to talk to him over the weekend, and always so excited when somebody has that kind of thirst to help people.
happen around the globe that we never hear of.
I really don't give a I mean, it had nothing to do with me. I mean, they moved the meeting. I didn't miss it. I was just trying to get a sweet haircut.
How it is when you win in Cleveland, man. They love you. When you lose, whew, it's the way it should be.
He's a piece of crap. The kid, he sucks. He's sucked his whole career.
I got rumors about him. How he couldn't please his wife, so now he's divorced.
That sounds really good, but I'm not 6'5", and I don't have the athletic ability to play in the NBA.
Now, the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima give their thoughts on what you might have missed about last night.
The New York Knicks are NBA champions. Lima, how many non-repeat champions in a row is that?
8.
8? Okay,
I thought
it's 8
it
in a row.
was 7. Is it still? It's 8 now?
It's 8.
Wow. It works.
So apparently,
Throw another non-repeat champion on the barbecue.
Wow. What a
was
league of parody. This is amazing. Doesn't everybody love this? Don't you guys all love the parody? Oh, no. Wait, you guys all want one big bad villain to go after every year? Yeah,
well,
that's
they
usually how
changed
it
their
goes.
The thing about the NBA is people change their minds just based on whatever's happening. So there'll be people like Clay Travis that will lead the big assault against the NBA.
Why do you say Clay Travis?
Well, he's been the leader telling everybody how down basketball is, and then they just had the best rating since Jordan.
I've always
So how
noticed-
down is it, Clay?
I'm going to take a quick right turn here into the wall. Can I just hold
After
on
talking
for a
about
second?
Clay Travis, interesting.
Hero.
I did notice yesterday, I posted a question about James Harden that we might get to today, but probably tomorrow. I've noticed it's the ones that say they don't care about the NBA who have the strongest opinions on the NBA.
Yeah.
Like the people who get in my mentions every time I go, I'm live tweeting the Cavs or something, and they go, oh, who cares? Who cares? Monday Night Raw is on or something like that. And I'm like, you're the same person telling me why this James Harden trade point by point by point by point is a complete failure for the Cavs yesterday. I was like, what is this?
It was also very interesting.
You can't give me that many reasons you don't care and be that passionate about it.
The same thing happened. Game 5 was going on. It was an awesome game and came down to the last seconds. And, like, if San Antonio wins, like, were we positive that the Knicks were going to win the championship? Like, these things can change at times. And I had people going out of their way to tell me, who cares? College World Series is on. These guys try so much harder. And I'm like, you're clearly not watching the finals. These guys are trying so hard that Wemby is running out of all gas and energy in the fourth quarter. He's expended so much. Anyway, go ahead, John.
So anyway, before that weird side tangent there, James
That
Dolan.
was weird. I thought it was really on point by both of us. What did you think, Owen?
I vote weird.
Okay, well, 2-2. We move on.
What did you bring up? What was the point
So here's James Dolan spoke to the Knicks before the playoffs. This was released on the Roommates podcast with Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson. And here's what he asked his team to do before the playoff run.
I had this idea that maybe you should give up sex for the next 10 weeks. You don't have to give up sex for the next 10 weeks. But, like Spartans, you know what Spartans are? Right? They denied themselves so that they could have an edge. Get the edge. Go home, talk to your wives. Don't tell them you're not going to have sex. Don't tell them it was my idea. But let them know what this is going to be like, what your commitment is going to be like, and how they're going to have to sacrifice too.
So this seems like a kind of a common theme from a sports TV show, two of which, Shoresy and Blue Mountain State, both of which are amazing, and Ken hasn't seen either of them. Imagine having this conversation.
Seen Shoresy.
Oh, you seen Shoresy? Okay.
Weird. I like Shoresy. I like its original show, Letterkenny.
Okay. Well, imagine having this conversation.
Don't act
with,
you know me. You don't know nothing about me, boy.
Imagine having this conversation with any other group of guys, asking them not to have sex for 10 weeks. For most guys, it's just like, okay, I just won't try. These NBA players, like,
well, hold on. If we did this in radio, let's say we were doing terribly in the ratings. We needed to get our act together over the next 10 weeks. But it's radio, and you look around at the people that are working with you, and you think, this isn't that big of a feat to ask these poor young men not to have sex. Just kind of gauging.
I don't care what's at stake. I'm knocking boots. I'm letting everybody know that right now.
James brought up the Spartans. I'm more of a Trojan man myself.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't know this. I thought James Dolan might be inspired not by Spartans, but by Paul Brown, the late, great Paul Brown, considering his cousin owns the Cleveland Guardians. And that Paul Brown, you don't know this, John, had what was called a Tuesday rule, where he got his players. This is amazing, consider they weren't paid anything back then, and he actually got these guys to do this.
This is real sacrifice.
Allegedly got these guys to do this. that after Tuesdays during the season, no more sex. I mean, he's telling these guys in the 50s. You didn't talk about that stuff in the 50s from what I'm told. No sex after Tuesday. Don't touch your wife. You got to save it.
And that's why he's a team named after him.
Also, I think James Dolan made this speech to make himself feel better. Because there's a time where guys give speeches, and it's like, well, wait a minute. Are you just trying to make yourself feel more confident, or are you really trying to instill confidence in your team? Which one are you doing?
Yeah, they released a video, and there's the full, 10 minutes. He sat there in the locker room.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Before the playoffs started, and basically said, hey, 10 weeks, you guys can own the city, and you guys can really achieve history.
You know how much
and be
sex
immortalized.
An NBA team has to be having for you to spend 10 minutes begging them not to do it? It's a lot of boots being knocked. Continue.
The World Cup, all 4 games yesterday, they all ended in ties, but this is the most most tie.
Sport.
What's your problem? I knew you were going to do it. I knew you'd do
You know
it.
what? Daryl was right to not know what was happening.
Cape Verde, 64th overall in the FIFA rankings, by the way, tied Spain, who was 3rd overall in the FIFA rankings. Cape Verde has a population of 526,000, which is smaller than the population of every single U.S. state. Spain has a population of about 50 million.
Really? It's not bigger than Wyoming?
No, that's what Twitter said. 40-year-old keeper Vozinha, yes, he has the one-name moniker, became an overnight sensation. He had 45,000 followers before the match. He had an amazing performance. At 5 a.m. this morning, he had 6.2 million. Currently, he has 6.8 million followers. That's what happened overnight. And this is what's really cool about the non-Big Four sports. Some of these athletes become overnight sensations, like Alona Mar and Steven Odorosic, where they only really did one thing. Like Steven Odorosic got to go on Dancing with the Stars. He was a Ken's looking at me like he has no idea who this guy is.
Oh no, you're teaching
gymnast.
me. I'm not.
He was a gymnast in 2024 that won a bronze medal, which is the first Olympic medal the men's had won in gymnastics. The U.S. men had won in gymnastics in a really long time. But these people are becoming overnight sensations for one thing. And this team will probably not ever win another game. This was their first World Cup game ever, the first World Cup point now. And I just think this is a really cool story. It is an upset. Ken, you were right when you teased it.
I agree with you. It's weird because it's a tie, so you wouldn't call a tie an upset.
It's a scoreless tie, too.
In so many things. Scoreless tie.
Although if you're the goalie, then, that's as good as anything.
But, guys, I've never been to Spain. Soccer is one of the first things I think of when I think of Spain. So if you're Cape Verde, where I can't, my son, my 7-year-old, could definitely find where Cape Verde is on a map. I guarantee it.
Right outside of Senegal.
But I can't find where. I didn't know where it was. I had never heard of this place before.
Also Verde's as close as I got.
And I think it's a really cool thing. You're trying to get us hate soccer. That's not
I'm
that
trying
generation.
to get you to do anything.
Dude.
Well, Friday at 3,
no.
right? Friday at 3. USA?
Yeah.
That's their next match. Who is it?
I think it's Australia.
You think it's Australia?
I don't know. I don't keep track of soccer.
I thought you said you were a big soccer fan.
I was
care
not
about
a big
this or
soccer
not?
fan at all.
Why are you making me out to be the biggest bastard in the world, Mr. Anti-Soccer, which I'm not even anti-soccer. You're trying to paint me into some corner. At least know what you're talking about before you try to do it, John. I see the looks. Everybody sees the looks. I'm getting texts right now about what you're trying to do.
Now you're
to
the
me.
bastard, John.
Yeah, now you're the bad guy here.
What else is new? Pete Crow Armstrong, he hit for the cycle. It is not as impressive as it may sound. He also got picked off immediately after he hit for the cycle. This is why I say this. Sam Fuld in the 2010s, he was an outfielder for the Rays. He was on the verge of a cycle, but he doubled in his final at bat instead of stopping at first to get a single. This is one of the only feats where you actually have to restrict yourself in cases to get the cycle.
So you don't want to try for the cycle?
No, because objectively, yes, Sam Fuld had 2 doubles, a triple, and a home run in that game. Okay?
What was the score?
I don't remember.
What's the score of the Pete Crow Armstrong game?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's
Yes, it
inconsequential.
does. Why wouldn't it matter?
What do you mean? It's inconsequential.
Are you
Stretching a single into a double? What do you mean?
Are you being critical of him for trying to do that?
No.
What are you trying
I'm
to
saying
say,
that
John?
the cycle is not as impressive as you think it is because it is possible to have a better game.
Hold on. What's more impressive? Let me seriously ask you this. What's more impressive? Having 3 triples and a home run or having the cycle?
3 triples and a home run.
Right. So why do we care?
Because it's fun.
It's an arbitrary achievement.
So why can't we call 3 triples and a home run a cycle? You should be able to just call it that.
When you do something every day like baseball is, that's the nuance and fun of baseball, is that it occurs every day. And so you don't see that every day, quote unquote. Like, I'm more impressed by a triple than I am a home run.
Yeah. Way harder to hit a triple than it is to home run.
Oh, hell yeah.
Way harder.
But the cycle is still a really cool thing.
It's cool,
Are you
but
saying
it's
overrated?
Yeah, it's overrated. It is overrated, and it happens more often than a no-hitter.
But I disagree. I can't say it's overrated. I don't think anybody walks into the ballpark saying, I hope I get to see a cycle today. Like, no. Like, if I said getting a foul ball is overrated, considering when you can go buy one for like $40, which, God, that's so much, for $40 over the team shop, like, yeah, it kind of takes the fun out of it. That's why I don't understand why grown men shove children aside to get foul balls and home run balls. That is overrated. To me, the cycle.
Yeah, I mean, but
you don't know that's going to happen that day. That's so much fun.
You could say that about anything that happens in a baseball game. You don't know that there's
say that about anything in life.
You don't know that you're going to see an immaculate
great.
inning today. You don't know that you're going to see a no-hitter today.
I would say
that's what makes it fun. You get to tell that story afterwards.
Striking out 18 as a pitcher, way more impressive than a no-hitter.
Got to push that to 20. Got to push it up to 20.
18. Wait, you're not impressed by 18?
I'm impressed by 18, but 20 strikeouts is like the benchmark for like, this is really cool. Like 20 strikeouts has only happened 8 times ever.
Okay, and 18.
I remember watching Kerry Woods. It was on the WGN.
That's 6 innings worth of strikeouts. If you strike out 18, that's pretty impressive.
It's impressive, but the benchmark is
6 and 2/3 is way more impressive than 6.
There's only been like 24 guys who've ever struck out 18. Meanwhile, how many no-hitters have we had? So
305 single-pitcher no-hitters.
So striking out 18 is way more impressive.
Yeah. That's it.
I've always said getting out on time was way more impressive.
Ryan Wilson.
We've never done that on this show.
Well, you know what? If people hold up their arms for fouls, that was not on me, buddy boy. At 8:20, Ryan Wilson going to join us on the show because it's because of the drama in the QB room that we have to entertain more drama. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima. Take us with you to work on that free Odyssey app.
It's Anthony Lima for Mentality Health, and unlike online-only services that others offer, Mentality gives you in-person consultation with board-certified.
Like he matters that much, obviously, but it is baseball still. One guy tilts the scales, but it doesn't do so enough to tank the season.
The Afternoon Drive, weekdays starting at 2. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Accident, and that's going to add about 15 minutes.
8:20 this morning. Ryan Wilson going to join us on the show. It's 8:05 this morning, so we got to get down to the nitty-gritty here. I'm getting a lot of, the guys are so much drama in the quarterback room. Why do you want to add more drama? Because of the drama. The question answers itself. Because we have drama in the QB room, I have to entertain it. I don't want Brendan Sorsby right now. I've been very adamant about that. I wish he was able to get his injunction, because I'm just looking at it as a Browns fan. Like, there have been a lot of people getting on there. Like, there are people who do listen to us. They're Buckeye fans over being Browns fans. So they're up on the horse and they're saying this is disgusting for college football. And by the way, it is disgusting for college football. Just because you're on your high horse up there doesn't mean you're wrong. It is disgusting. However, I'm a Browns first guy. So I have to look at it and go, all right, I still got to see him before I make such a crazy investment here. Because if you guys are saying top 5 talent, Breer, Pelissero, all these people are saying that they have scouts telling him top 5 pick next year. If that's a top 5 pick next year, then they aren't the only ones saying it. It's not like the Cardinals haven't heard this. It's not like the Dolphins or the Jets haven't heard this.
Teams have already dug in. Yeah,
exactly.
They've been doing work.
Are you willing to make that investment? And I think probably because he's put his hands up and said, finally, no. Like, I know that the Big 12 is filing a suit against Texas Tech. That probably goes away today after all this. I know the Big 12 is filing a suit, but I still think if they really wanted to, I mean, you saw it. I didn't read the whole thing because it was 8 paragraphs long, it seemed. You saw what the AD said. You saw what the president of Texas Tech said. You saw what the attorney general down there said. Like, they were ready for an argument. They were ready to fight.
Michigan pulled out of a softball game with Texas Tech. So this was, I know, it was just so ridiculous that it showed you the lengths they were trying to go to figure out how to penalize Texas Tech.
It has become very punitive very quickly, very petty very quickly. And he threw up his hands and he said, you know what, I'm just going to go to the NFL. So now, instead of Texas Tech's problem, and I get to watch and see how he responds to all this, now it might be my problem. And it's much easier for me to watch him go through the year at Texas Tech than it is where he's in my own backyard and he's one of my quarterbacks on my football team.
I do think that sucks, man.
Water.
It would have been awesome.
And that's why I don't want to take that risk. And there's plenty of people, and I see the stuff online. I told you what happened last Thursday when I was waiting over there at the dealership, and what I saw on the internet, and how I'm like, I think a lot of people are getting worked into shoots by bots. And it's like, hey, man, again, go out in the street. Go talk to a Browns fan. What does a Browns fan think? A normal Browns fan on East 9th. What do they think of Shedeur Sanders? What do they think of Deshaun Watson? I mean, honestly. They might like one or the other. Neither of them are thought to be the 100%. I think a lot of people would rather see Shedeur, certainly, but 100% are the answer. Because they're not 100% of the answer, neither of them are. I have to discuss it. I can't just put a moratorium on it and say, absolutely not. No, for all these other reasons. I'm just so disappointed because I wanted to see him have to deal with this. And also, I don't think we're the right place for him. Because I'll play the spots back to back. I didn't care for what Barry said on Friday. Well, I'm fine with what Barry said on Friday.
About showing grace?
About showing some grace. He was on with you guys. And if we have the clip correct this time, I'd like to get... It's not Owen's fault, by the way. I don't know if it's anybody's fault this morning. But here is... Do we have Andrew on this? I'm very nervous. Oh, man, this damn computer. All right, here is Andrew Barry on Friday. You want to hear that whole interview? 923thefan.com. Please be the right one. Andrew
Integrated
Barry.
Restorations, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Go back to the Integrated Restorations. It's powered by Integrated Restorations, your local experts in water, fire, and storm disaster restoration. All right, here is I'm praying to God, Andrew Barry from Friday.
I really asked 2 questions. I asked, number one, is this a bad person or did they make a bad decision? And then the second piece is like, okay, what are they doing after the fact, whether it's to correct the behavior? Like, is this a pattern of decision making? And if so, have they done something to stop the pattern, or is this an isolated incident? Because the reality of it is, like, we're all going to screw up, and some certainly mistakes are greater in magnitude than others. But I think the most important thing, in Brendan's case, is like what he does from here. Obviously, it's a great first step to get the help that he needs, but then it's like, what is around him? What is he doing to make sure that he can maintain healthy habits moving forward? And so it seems like it's a very good start there. Obviously, I don't know all the details at this point. I think we could all stand to use a little bit more grace.
Yeah, problem is I don't trust you. If you were still with the Eagles and you were saying this, is like, okay, I'd trust you. Even though, boy, that'd be a sticky wicket with Jalen Hurts right there, but go with me on this. I would trust you if you were the Rams. I don't trust you. I don't. This has been a bad situation, and we have a tendency to make a bad situation worse. And I have to double down on it, Tone, because when I heard Todd Monken at the golf outing asked about the possibilities of bringing in Brendan Sorsby, I mean, he went over and above and really ripped him personally. I mean, listen to this from Todd Monken back at the golf outing here. There's no way you could sit there and ignore this if they go and pick him up in the supplemental draft. Hit it.
That's not even come across my desk. I don't think we're in a position to want to go down that road. That's my opinion. That's not Andrew's. And that I like the quarterbacks that we have. I think that's a slippery slope when you go down that, irrespective of talent, right? In terms of the situation he's put himself in. Like we all know what that is. He put himself in that situation. And we've seen in other sports with players that have been banned for life from playing in professional sports. I think that's a slippery slope to go down that road. Again, that's a question for Andrew and for management. But from my end of it, kind of a tough angle to go down that road and think that that's going to be your franchise quarterback if he's ever eligible to even play in the NFL.
I'll regret doing this at 8:45. I'm going to give you a reason why it torpedoes my entire argument against this guy. But when I hear the coach, it's like, you didn't need it. Like, did you ever see Kingpin?
Yeah.
You remember when Woody Harrelson takes a swing at Randy Quaid and says, you never mow another man's lawn? Roger Clemens shows up, and she's like, you didn't need to have beers with him after. Like, you didn't need to go that far into saying nasty things about Brendan Sorsby when you gave your reasoning to throw everybody off the set.
I just love Monken.
I mean, you basically said, yeah, he's a good quarterback, but I don't like him as a guy. I don't like him as an individual. You're going to bring him in there? It's the first thing people are going to think of. First thing I'll think of.
I love the thought of Todd Monken at his desk. He said it hadn't come across his desk yet, where somebody in the paper boy comes over and goes, extra, extra, read all about it.
Stop.
We've got a gambler. Here you go. And he puts his readers on, and he's like, oh boy. Look, he hasn't had a chance to talk. Like, Todd, why would he familiarize himself with the Sorsby case all that much while he's got a heated quarterback competition going on right now in his, on the practice fields every single day? I do want to know from people like you, Kenny, what if, because you put it perfectly, the Browns have earned we talk about benefit of the doubt with the Guardians. They have not earned any benefit of the doubt over the years with a lot of the character concern players that they have taken. Mm-hmm. God, we just saw over the weekend, Perion Winfrey losing his mind in what outfit
Glad
was
he's still getting paid to play the sport. I'll give him that credit.
Somehow, some way. But, that was one that they took a chance on, and we were basically tipped off like, dude, if this guy makes it, it's a miracle. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, it's like, what, did we do more research with one text than the Browns did? But no, they always are going to err on the side of talent. We've seen that time and time again. So it's tough to put gambling. What box do you put gambling on compared to all the other accusations of Browns players they've drafted? And what I'm curious is, what if they have been doing the deep dive, they've drafted his tight end, so they've seen him on film. What if you found out from somebody over there, which they've conducted 2 stellar drafts, according to most, the last 2 years, if those same people who had the high scouting reports on all the guys they've drafted when they've gotten all these positive reports of their draft, what if they're like, dude, he's so good. He is so good. He just needs the right coaching, but he is good. What would that...
Oh, you just said it right there. Do I know you have the right coaching? Are you going to leave the right coaching in place if this is the right coaching? Are you going to do those things?
You'd be
well,
okay
I don't know.
with
They
that
traded Miles. They traded Miles Garrett. I immediately had people who are we've had guests on at the station, not on this show, say that that's it. It's one and done for Todd Monken here. So I don't trust anybody as far as I can throw him, and I can't even pick him up.
Okay, but so you'd be okay with him going to the Steelers with that same scouting report?
I guess I'd have to.
That's what I want to know.
Okay, fine. Because I love you always play the Steelers card with me, which is a fine card to play.
They need a quarterback.
Yeah, I understand they need a quarterback. I get that. But damn it, I'll let them make the mistake if they have to do it. I don't trust us in this spot. If he were a defensive end and a 4th-round pick, there's other defensive ends.
I just want the record to show.
It
so
doesn't preclude me from taking a defensive end next year.
Ken Carman's okay with a guy that we've had 3 different guys now. Todd McShay, Tom Pelissaro, Albert Beers say would be top 5 next year's draft. He's okay with that player going to the Steelers. Are you, the Cleveland Browns fans?
We've had plenty of dumbasses and idiots go in the top 5 of the NFL draft. You were supposed to have all the talent in the world. All right? So that using that history does not persuade me to come on your side about this. However, another coach's words, that might do that at 8:45. Up next, Ryan Wilson, CBS Sports. Is all this talk for nothing? Ken Carman, Anthony Lima on The Fan.
It's Anthony Lima for Expert Renovations. So pleased that I teamed up with Justin and everybody over at Expert Renovations. In fact, they're going to be coming over looking at my gutters. See, this is what they are so good at, no matter what.
right to your phone during this offseason by following the Browns playlist and 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
All right, fine. Let's just bring in Brendan Sorsby. No, I'm kidding. Ryan Wilson. Well, let's see. Maybe I'll change my mind after we talk to Ryan Wilson. He's on the Wise Heart Right, We Make It Right, called Kyle Wright Hotline. NFL draft analyst, CBS Sports. NFL analyst, CBS Sports. CBSSports.com. CBS Sports HQ. Also with the First Pick podcast with Rand Carthon. Also from QVC. I mean, just all over the place. Ryan Wilson joins us right now. Hello, Ryan.
Hey, good morning, guys. Odd talking to you in the middle of June. What's going on?
Well, it's because of the Sorsby stuff, okay? There's a lot of people who, why even bother? Well, because the quarterback room isn't set. That's why you bother. And I'm not going to give away what I can sell. There's the one coach, his statement that I'm going to play for everybody at 8:45 might change my mind a little bit, but I want to ask you first. Do you think he has what it takes to be a, quote, top 5 pick in 2027?
Yeah. No, he does. Now, we're just strictly talking on the field right now because obviously we know about everything else that's going on.
Of course.
That's what teams are going to have to weigh. But on the field, and I just got finished because we're going to start, you mentioned the podcast, Rand and I are going to start our summer scouting with the quarterbacks this week. So I've seen more Brendan Sorsby than probably anybody who is not, who's paying attention to this, just because we're getting ready to talk about it before he decided to declare for the supplemental draft. I didn't love him in the fall, just sort of watching on Saturdays along with everyone else. But when I went back and looked a little closer, number one, like if you were just watching on the black and white television and you didn't see the name on the back of the jerseys, 10 times out of 10, you would take Sorsby over Arch Manning, even though Arch played great down the stretch last year. But we know all that comes with Arch. So it is real, the stuff he can do on the field, and he can do things that not a lot of quarterbacks can do. He's big and he's strong, and he was more of a running quarterback than a passing quarterback in Indiana before he transferred to Cincinnati. And he has one of the best deep balls in college football, and he can consistently make plays out of structure, but he's not necessarily looking to run first. So there are a lot of positives on the field. Can be reckless at times, and he maybe makes throws he shouldn't make, sort of some Jackson Dart in his game in terms of that stuff. But if you're asking me right now, would he go in the top 5? Yeah, and I'll just say it this way. There were I heard Tom Pelissero mention that he may have been QB1 last year, and I'm sure Tom talked to people, and they're telling him that. I understand that part. I would not have taken over Fernando as the totality of the quarterback, but there would have been a real conversation about him and Ty Simpson, and Ty went 13th, so you can do the math. And would he go 5 or 6 spots higher than 13? Yeah, I feel pretty confident saying that might be a high likelihood of that.
Ryan Wilson joining us. Then, with all the positive things you just said, it's hard to ignore losing 5 straight games. I know wins and losses, not just a quarterback stat, but in college it kind of is a pretty big deal, and there's a strong correlation. Losing 5 straight 2 years ago, and last year losing his last 4. Is that all on the team? Is that just to show how raw he still is?
No, and that's a great point. I think Bruce Feldman wrote about that last week in The Athletic, and it got my attention as well. 1-11 in November in the last 2.5 or 3 years, or whatever it was. And look, the whole point of drafting a quarterback top 5 is to win games in December and January. And they weren't bad. Cincinnati was a pretty good team last year. Part of it was he didn't play as well as perhaps he could have in the big moments. And the other issue is he struggled with some drops, and not to make excuses, but he is not a quarterback where you watch him play in those games in November and go, okay, this guy can't figure it out. It was just more a victim of circumstance. Again, I don't want to make excuses for him, because if you're drafted top 10, you got to win football games. But those are real and legitimate concerns, and sort of the way we were having the conversations about what's going on with Ty Simpson in the second half of the season with the deep ball accuracy and what was going on with that. And if he was banged up, I don't know if Brendan was hurt or not. But those are real concerns, and those are things you have to confront, in addition to all the other stuff we have to talk about that didn't have to do with football.
Man, so you're really saying he'd still be a top 5 guy?
On the field, off the field, no. Like that's a lot of math that these teams have to do. And I know I've heard people say, Ken, well, do you want the guy touching the ball every single time that's bet $90,000 on college sports, including his own team when he wasn't playing? And if you watch the way he competes and the throws he makes, and look, man, I don't own a team, so no one cares whether I think it's worth taking or not. I don't get my impression isn't that he is one going to be throwing games. That said, it's a huge risk for a coach, a GM, an owner, when their jobs are on the line outside of the owner, to take someone with so much baggage. And I will be surprised how the supplemental draft works out if he ends up going in the first round, unless he's going to a place that has everything in place to make sure. And, I think Texas Tech said something like, we blocked all the apps on his phone. Like, bro, come on now. That's like telling your teenager not to find back in the 80s, not to find the magazines you hid or whatever.
All right, Ryan, obviously.
I can't say. My dad listens, so I can't say.
We're not going over that. Obviously, Ryan, there is going to be a lot of difficult decisions and discussions to be had for the NFL teams as they're doing their deep dive. I was told the Browns had already, before this even happened, had been doing the legwork, because all the quarterbacks next year, you're going to be doing substantial legwork. And also the Browns drafted somebody who, used to be a teammate of his. And so they've got plenty of film already on this quarterback. With that said, man, the conversations that these teams would want to have with him, obviously the Browns have taken guys with character concerns before, but this is new. This is new territory, not just for the Browns, but for all these teams. Are you hearing anything about how different this is going to be to evaluate their character?
Yeah, you're right. It's 100% different because, it's not someone driving 120 and a 35. It's not some of the things, and some of the things that these players have done are not, in fact, great. Well, there's domestic violence issues or whatever going down that road. But this is unfamiliar territory in that it's gambling, which historically has meant, okay, that's a wrap, we're out of here. Kayshon Boutte actually wrote about it. He admitted to gambling while at LSU, and the Patriots actually helped him. But he was also a late day 3 pick, if not undrafted, if I recall correctly. So that's a different conversation. But NFL teams, I talked to a couple people in the league, and they essentially said this. If you had a first or second round, this was before Sorsby announced yesterday, if you had a first or second round grade on the quarterback, you could probably talk yourself into taking them. And this would have been during the actual draft next April. If you had a day 3, and some teams think he's a developmental guy, not a lot of teams, but some people don't love him as much as other people, but you're just going to pass. You're going to take him off the board like we hear about all the time during the pre-draft process, whether it's injury-related or whether it's off-field-related. So it's just going to be the risk and the tolerance you're willing to put up with to take a gamble on this young man. And, every quarterback you draft, even the model citizens, are risked because they work out first-round picks less than 50% of the time. So, guys, teams that are desperate, guys whose jobs are on the line, sometimes do things they wouldn't do under normal circumstances. And maybe you roll the dice, pardon the pun, to on a quarterback to hope you get the best version of that guy. And I don't know anything about Brendan. I don't know where he is in terms of overcoming the addiction, but these are certainly all deep dives these teams are going to have to figure out.
Well, damn, Ryan, I'm sitting here over here, Ryan Wilson joining us on the show, and I've been saying it for the last couple of weeks whenever it's been brought up. I'm going, man, I've had a lot of callers say a lot of things. If he goes out there and he has a bad game, first off, the jokes are going to be unbearable. Second of all, I'm going to have fans seriously questioning his integrity. And then, you know what? If he continues to struggle, wide receivers in this league, what happens if one of them gets upset? Like, I'm getting sent, because Lima asked me, he goes, how would you feel if the Steelers got him? And I'm getting the Photoshop AI crap of Brendan Sorsby sitting next to DK Metcalf. And I'm thinking, could you imagine how great it would be for a Browns fan to hear DK Metcalf popping off, wondering if Brendan Sorsby's throwing games as his quarterback? I mean, how delicious would that be for a Browns fan to hear? And I'm like, I don't want that situation playing out for us. I don't want it playing out for us. I mean, if you want to say a quarterback's bad, fine. If you want to say a quarterback is possibly throwing games, or the question of him throwing games is out there, nah, that's a killer. That's a fan base killer. Because, I mean, this fan base has been through so much. They go through that. It's like, how do you come back from something like that? Especially when we've all looked at the 2027 draft class, Ryan, as this golden draft class for the first time since 2018.
Right, and you guys, I think the Browns have 3 first-round picks. I think that's where they are now.
2. Right now they have 2, right?
Okay, they have 2.
2.
It feels like, whatever they have, it feels like they can get up to as high as number 2, assuming the team at number 1 doesn't come off it and takes either Arch or Dante Moore. But there are going to be guys. Jaden Mayaba at USC, C.J. Card at Notre Dame, Julian Sand at Ohio State. All those guys have chances to make their way into the first round. So, and none of them, as far as we know, come with any off-field baggage. So, right, that's the math you have to do. And I think that's an important point that you're making, Ken, also because, and we were talking about this last week, we will now get an opportunity to see how Brendan Sorsby, should he play at Texas Tech, deals with adversity, because all the things you just talked about were going to happen every single week that Texas Tech was not playing at home, and maybe even sometimes when they were playing at home. And one incomplete pass, one interception, one bad series, he was going to have to hear it. And the other side of this, and you can think of what you want about Brendan being a person with a gambling addiction, he's only 22 or whatever. So now you're putting all this on this young man who probably feels like he's carrying the weight of the world, and in some sense – it's unfair, and you can say he didn't have to gamble, and I understand that. But the reality is if you have 80,000 people calling you a horrible human being because you threw an incomplete pass and accusing you of cheating, that probably weighs on you after a time. So those things are all things that you would imagine NFL teams are going to have to talk about and consider because, I would imagine Sorsby's out of options right now because Texas Tech, they were about to get sued, and now he had to end the supplemental draft, and it's out of his hands, and the NFL teams will have to decide ultimately, is he worth that risk?
What about the NFL suspension that is looming? Obviously, the NFL has had players come right into the league and had to serve a suspension. But these are very, very different times. And is there any kind of gauge from NFL teams on what we'd be looking at? I mean, Albert Breer said, well, this would be a redshirt year for him anyway. But the Browns would have to see him play football before they would, cross off the list all the talented quarterbacks in the next draft.
Right. So Kayshon Boutte, I don't think Kayshon was suspended, even though the gambling allegations came out. While I'm not sure of the timeline, but he gambled in college. I don't think he was suspended once he got into the league. Terrell Pryor, you have to go back 15 years, was suspended for what happened in college. And you could argue unfairly because the new job has nothing to do with what he was doing as an amateur. Sorsby has hired a pretty powerful lawyer in Jeffrey Kessler who's trying to grease those wheels and make sure that doesn't happen. There's only so much he can do. But the situations with Calvin Ridley, who was suspended, there's another NFL player suspended for a few games. Those were while in the NFL and gambling, and those were different. And Calvin got a whole year. And another player whose name I can't remember now got some subset of that. So it could be a situation where he's out 6 games. It could be a situation where the NFL maybe 1 or 2 games. Texas Tech was going to suspend him 2 games, and I would imagine the NFL would prefer not to have this headache. But here we are, and they're going to have to make some decisions. And we know historically Roger Goodell has made decisions that necessarily wouldn't be what would happen in a court of law because this is a little different. But obviously, Brendan Sorsby is trying to reduce as much as possible and allow him to play, and then the NFL might have a different opinion, maybe based on what they're hearing from owners and public perception. Because let's be fair, a lot of times that does sway how big corporations act.
It's June 16th. Who would you start for the Browns right now? Deion Sanders. Well, that'd be a hell of a story. Shedeur Sanders or Deshaun Watson?
You guys know better
what
than
a
me.
terrible response that was. Oh, Lord. You don't think either one of them are very good, do you?
Well, Shedeur has upside. I think, and tell me what you guys think of this. Is it a waste of time to think that Deshaun Watson's going to be even 70% of the Houston Texans version?
Probably.
I think it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. So maybe Shedeur, because I just heard, I think Todd Monken was talking about how, or maybe it was Andrew Barry who talked about how much he's improved over the last 6 weeks. I don't know if that's something he just routinely says in the middle of June about the young quarterback, but you just roll with that.
That was on our show, even though I wasn't the one. Yeah, I wasn't the one hosting it. I was off that
There
day.
you go. So, and roll with Shedeur, see if he's gotten better. Todd Monken's good with quarterbacks, young and old, and you're going to draft one next year anyway. So go young and see what you have and go from there.
And that's part of my problem with it is I think some people are making an argument going, well, Kenny, I mean, neither of these guys are going to be be the quarterback for the Browns next year. And I'm going, yeah, but I want to get it right. I just don't want to. Right. I don't want to go after Sorsby just because his name isn't Sanders or Watson. That doesn't make my situation any better. If I don't believe he's going to be, if I don't believe that they're going to handle him right or that he's going to be able to handle himself right, I don't know. That's why I'm so upset that this season that he was going to play for a team that I don't care about. So I was excited to see him have a year-long job interview and to see whether or not he could handle all this. And now I don't get to do it. I'm like, well, Yeah, so now we have to be the experiment for guys who have open gambling problems here. Why do we have to be the ones? I'll let somebody else take that risk. If he ends up being an all-time Hall of Famer, well, hey, throw another log on the fire of things I've been wrong about.
No, that's a good way to put it, because I think some NFL teams will be frustrated that they didn't get the opportunity to see who Sorsby could be sort of in this pressure cooker of a 2026 college season, and now you're left to sort of imagine what it would have looked like and then project with your own money, perhaps, how this play out. So I'm with you, and I'm always of the opinion that you just draft as many quarterbacks as you can realistically until you get it right. And the Browns took Taylor Green on day 3. Let's see how that goes. And typically day 3 quarterbacks don't work out, but I don't know if it makes sense to double down, especially if you only have those 2 first-round picks. For some reason, I thought it was 3. So you're burning one of those, or even a second-round pick. Maybe feel better about it in the supplemental draft because you're not going to have that pick in April. When a quarterback you may feel a lot better about is available and a little cleaner off the field.
Ryan, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it. Everybody go listen to the With the First Pick podcast with him and Rand Carthon. Ryan, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Ryan Wilson, CBS Sports. On the Wise Heart Right, we make it right. Call Kyle Right hotline. Said a lot of strong stuff there that did he really say he'd take him over Arch Manning?
I couldn't believe. I mean, if anything, no. I think you had Ryan Wilson on thinking, all right, that'll quiet some of the Sorsby stuff. If anything, it did the opposite.
Yeah, and there's also one coach who said one sentence that might change my mind on this whole thing. We'll play that for you in 5 on The Fan.
Anthony Lima, 4. QC Kinetics, are you suffering from any kind of joint pain? Like earlier in the show, I was actually hitting my shoulders and my back because I was right and owned Ken Carman in an argument, and I got hurt. I was like, oh, no. But thankfully, I have regenerative medicine at my disposal.
If you were just watching the black and white television and you didn't see the name on the back of the jerseys, 10 times out of 10, you would take Sorsby over Arch Manning, even though Arch played great down the stretch last year, but we know all that comes with Arch. It is real, the stuff he can do on the field, and he can do things that not a lot of quarterbacks can do. He's big and he's strong, and he was more of a running quarterback than a passing quarterback in Indiana before he transferred to Cincinnati. He has one of the best deep balls in college football. He can consistently make plays out of structure, but he's not necessarily looking to run first.
10 out of 10 is outrageous. 10 out of 10 is outrageous. He said 10 out of 10 times over Arch Manning, right? Over Arch Manning. 10 out of 10. Am I the only one living in the real world here?
I think what's happening is
I'd at least take one of those 10 times on an Arch.
I think the Sorsby.
Yeah.
I think the Sorsby stuff. People were later to the party on Sorsby, not NFL teams. They. It's not like they studied more Arch Manning. That's not their job. Is to look at all the guys.
It's like, man, I watched Cincinnati last year. I thought he was good, but
Well, remember, it's not. Nobody's saying Sorsby is like a finished product, ready for day one, and can come into the league and light the league on fire. He's a just like anybody. He's a prospect who, who knows what would have happened had he played at Texas Tech this year. With one of the most expensive rosters in football, might have won the Heisman if he played well. Who knows?
Yeah.
But now, because we get devoid or we unfortunately don't get to see that, there's a lot more risk-taking that is a part of this. Now, what do we know about, risk-taking organizations? There's some of them, it's awesome and pays off and, fortune favors the bold. And then for others like the Browns who've taken some big risks over the years, it has never worked. And that, I think, is your point. Like, why are we the team that can take the chance?
All right, I don't want to use history as a reason to not do it. So I'm not going to invoke, like, Johnny Manziel as a reason to not take Brennan Sorsby. Those guys were the only ones left from that era. Fans, you, me. Those people who took him are not there. I mean, Jimmy's still there, but he's the owner. I'm not trying to do that. I'm looking at your situation, how you are now, because – you brought up a bunch of history, and I'm like, I'm not going to let my past history dictate that I need to do this. But I just look at where they are now. It is a crowded quarterback room of a bunch of quarterbacks that nobody feels have a very bright future here. All right? Now, it's up to them to change that, but that's how a lot of people feel. And I'm going, all right, I know you guys are sick and tired of all this, and I'm sick and tired of it. You guys don't believe it when I say that, but I swear to God on my children, I am sick and tired of still looking for quarterbacks out here. I mean, good God, we're going on 40 years. 85, for crying out loud. So we're over 40 now. Moses wasn't even looking for quarterbacks this damn long. Owen, damn it. I don't like it as much as anybody else. And I'm going,
run game back then.
If I don't think that he's going to be worth it, then what's the point of me doing this? Just throw another problem at it. No, I don't just. I remember we used to have arguments, and I would say, just get the talent. I don't care. It's their job. Figure it out. Get the talent. And you were telling me that, Kenny, you can't look at it that way. We've gotten talent before, and look how much it's blown up. Like, you have to have some culture in there. You have to have something there. And I see this, and I go, I don't know what his future is as far as what the NFL will allow him to do, what a judge will allow him to do. I'm not trying to do some moral power play. He put a lot of bets down. That's a lot of gambling. That's a lot, exceedingly a lot. But one, in the eyes of college football and the NFL, is just as much as 9,000, to be honest with you. If other guys were to be caught gambling on their own teams, if they did it once, if they did it 3,000 times, I don't think it matters. But I'm looking at this going, I got another year before I can get this thing straightened out. And then I got Ryan over here telling me 10 out of 10 times these folks would take him over Arch. And then I got something else for you. I'm going to make an argument against myself. You want me to meet you halfway on something?
Sure.
I'll make an argument against myself. Because I'm always the guy going, hey, let's listen to football guys here. Because when a coach speaks, I just sit there and I go, okay, tell me more, coach. Doesn't matter how successful that guy's been. Here's a coach that's been pretty damn successful. By the way, he's fought his own struggles off and come out on the other side better for it. Steve Sarkisian, he was on Up and Adams with Kay Adams. He said he wouldn't be surprised if this scenario happened.
With Arch, do you know what's happening? Has the conversation happened as far as like 2027 and beyond? Are we waiting? Like, I guess the question is, how surprised would you be if you wanted to stay?
Yeah, I will tell you, I would not be surprised. I think Arch really loves college football. I think he loves the University of Texas. He does pretty good through NIL. But again, on the same token, I won't be surprised if he declares and decides to go to the draft. But I think some of that is dependent upon, how we play as a team this fall, how he plays individually, knock on wood, injury-free football, things like that. But again, that's not our focus. Our focus is on getting ready for the season, getting ready for Texas State in week 1, and then Ohio State, then UTSA, then Tennessee, so on and so forth. So we haven't really had any dialogue about it. I wouldn't be surprised. He loves college.
I mean, you got a guy over here saying that he might actually go back, which is always a possibility. And it's not where he's the golden goose at the end of this. I do think a lot of teams are thinking this way because whoever ends up with the number 1 pick, if he wants to go there, fine. But I mean, I've been saying this whole time where it's like, well, you don't know what he's going to decide to do. You might end up with the number 1 pick, and he might go, yeah, I don't like your coach. I don't like your GM. I don't like your face. I don't like the way you do things. I'm not playing for you, because history would show, and I'll use history here, that, yeah, his uncles were both that way. Yes, Peyton was that way too. That's why Peyton went back. He couldn't get the guarantee from Parcells. So that runs in the family. So if I can't guarantee that Arch is going to be there, and maybe Dante Moore goes out there, and God forbid I don't want him to do it, what if he turns into Matt Barkley? What if he turns into a pumpkin? Now, I don't want that to happen. Like, what if my options dry up, and I'm left with nothing, and I had the chance to take Brendan Sorsby, and I didn't do it, and now we're going into next year with this whole, well, we'll figure out a guy, we won't figure out a guy. I'm sure there'll be some other veteran off the heap that we'll have to talk about. Whoa, could Michael Penix be the type of guy that we could come in here and reinvigorate? So I understand exactly what I'm saying. And I just gave you all the artillery in the world. Because Arch Manning's the biggest name, that if he were to decide to go back into college, go, well, Kenny, you got to protect yourself here. I mean, I got Ryan Wilson saying that scouts are saying 10 out of 10 times they're taking him over Arch, the most popular, now maybe not the best, but the most popular draft pick coming up in 2027. I'll make the argument against myself just to show you I'm in good faith here.
I respect that, Kenny. It takes a bigger person to at least stay open-minded.
And I'm a big guy.
Listen, that's what I am trying to do. I think people are missing the point completely. They think it's you guys are perpetuating anybody but Shedeur. And I'm saying,
oh, God,
anybody until we get it right. I am open-minded on this like I've never been before. And, by the way, I'm open-minded. If Shedeur plays well, even if he doesn't win the starting job, if he comes in week 4 and lights the league on fire, I'm open to it.
Are they yelling at me that I'm perpetuating anybody at Shedeur?
Everybody at the station, everybody in the Cleveland media, everybody that looks like us.
These are folks that are just looking for problems instead of actually listening to what's being said. I have sat here and made arguments day in and day out about Brendan Sorsby. I don't know what you're doing over there, but I've sat here and made arguments day in and day out about not taking Brendan Sorsby and giving Shedeur, or even Deshaun for that matter, a chance. I don't think their chances are very good, but I'll still go ahead and I'll give them a chance over adding more problems to my organization, because I got to see him, and I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to see him, because now I have to wait for another judge to make a decision whether or not the guy can play again if we get him in the supplemental draft. And how much do I give up? I mean, Lord Almighty. But no, you're looking at the internet, and that's where sensitive people live. 216-474-0092. All right, I'm going to get to some of you guys on this, I promise. Would you take a swing at Sorsby? I mean, you got Ryan Wilson over there saying that scouts are telling him 10 out of 10 times they'd take him over Arch Manning. And Justin Termini, 922 this morning. I'm very surprised how people have turned on James Harden already. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima on The Fan.
It's Anthony Lima for Expert Renovations. There's a moment when you're a homeowner, usually after a big storm or really bad winter, where you look up at the house and realize, man,
because that's why quarterback position is so hard to evaluate.
Coach Riz, what a breakdown. That's why we have him on all the time. Andrew Berry, Browns GM.
I was listening to a little bit of the show earlier, and I heard Coach Riz. He was really impressive, and I think he gives a very intelligent and informed perspective, being a former coach.
The station with the most sports talk in the CLE. 92.3 The Fan.
"20 minutes away, Justin Termine will ask what he thinks about Brendan Sorsby." No, we're going to talk Cavs with him. And, boy, that whole Giannis idea seemed to went out the window, huh? That ain't going to happen. Doesn't seem to be with us.
Yeah, I wouldn't count it out just because the Cavs have definitely surprised me in the past and with Kobe Altman on moves. Like, who had Donovan Mitchell to the Cavs?
Not a lot of people. Not a lot of people at all.
Just because all the rumors are about Miami, think about it. A lot of that has to do with, is that Milwaukee floating all of this stuff out there just to see what could they seriously get? Because they're definitely going to trade him. I mean, I think everybody understands that now. Yeah. But, yeah, I think it's unlikely to agree with the original premise, but I hear a lot of people just assuming the Cavs are just bringing it back. They are just coming back with the same five, and I'm like, I don't think so. Just because we haven't heard anything yet. Stuff's about to get wild.
I just think we have to be prepared for them to have to run it back. You can't just make these guys come play for you. You can't do it. I know that the afternoon guys were talking like Trey Murphy and a couple other people, and it's like, well,
Trey's great. I don't know why they trade him.
I can't just dance by myself.
He's
like
young
in the
and is a 3-and-D player. I would have loved to have him last year for Darius, but they would have balked at that. They would have said no chance.
Did you ever go to a dance in high school and some guy was like dancing by himself?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did you guys ever make fun of that guy?
Yeah.
We had this one guy, he would dance like this. He would like do this thing with his arm. The people can't, if they're watching me on YouTube, maybe he would dance by himself. You need to have a dance partner is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Or then you got the sway. The girl sway.
You got to be doing something.
Just be like there.
Because then you wouldn't be out there in front of everybody.
You're in battle mode right now of the internet. I can see you. Social media reactions are brought to you by
Shivan Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
It's a hell of a
it's very
transition.
Because what's happening is the Shador people just assumed it was.
It's all to get Shador out of here.
They thought it was anti-Shador, and what they're starting to find out, and I think this is surprising to the Shador Sanders fans, and we appreciate them listening and watching us every day. They are finding out that Brendan Sorsby, who wasn't even a guy they had ever heard of 2 months ago, is not only going to be available, but is a much higher prospect than even Shador was, the way they're talking about him now. I mean, you just heard Ryan Wilson say 10 out of 10 scouts would take him if they didn't have the last name.
That is nuts. That is absolutely nuts to me.
But this
fine.
Cavalcade, Breer said, would be a top 5 pick next year and could be a second-round pick in the supplemental. Pelissaro, Todd McShay.
Well, then I'm just Chicken Little, then I guess, aren't I?
They're all starting to point to a guy that maybe we should have been talking about all the time, but we just used Arch as the representative of the 2027 class.
So, Jared Mueller, SB Nation, Dogs by Nature. I've been waiting to read this. He has a conspiracy theory. You ready?
Yep.
He tweeted this at us. He was listening this morning at 6 a.m., and we appreciate that. You already got the social media read, so I don't even need to. Jared says, all right, here's my conspiracy theory. Browns are very interested in Sorsby. Plan to make Deshaun Watson the starter no matter what. Prolong the quote-unquote QB competition to keep Shador's value high. If they get Sorsby, have a Sanders trade worked out already. Now, there are plenty of people, because this is what has been done on the internet, who are going after Jared over the last two things that he wrote. Remember, though, Andrew Berry considers quarterbacks currency. So no matter what, he's always going to try some value. I don't think I'd trade anything for Dillon Gabriel. I think he was a waste of a third-round pick.
You and I both.
It's a total mess. And to the point I actually feel bad for the guy to some degree.
So you can't say anybody but Shador when we are showing somebody who we definitely would take Shador over.
I have zero interest in him. Zero interest in Dillon Gabriel playing for the team. I think Dillon Gabriel has zero interest playing for the Browns. But, damn it, Andrew Berry is going to try to find some value somewhere, somehow along the way to get something out of Dillon Gabriel. So you guys can get on the internet and laugh all you want, but he's going to try to find some value. And I understand, like, there's been fights tooth and nail over Shedeur Sanders over the last how many years now? Because this ain't just a Cleveland Browns thing. This was a Colorado thing. This was a Jackson State thing. This has been going on for a long time, from his father being a head coach to all this stuff. And I understand that. Fine, I get it. But I got to make this football team better. And you guys can debate the truth all you want, but I'm going to tell you what the truth is right now, is that they made that trade a couple of weeks ago. They told everybody what they thought of their QB room, and I don't got one person telling me different, or at least making any sense telling me different.
And what did we also say? If Jackson Dart was on the Browns and played the way he did with the Giants, they would not have traded Myles Garrett.
If there's a lot of guys, they just would not have done that. Their quarterback situation is figured out in L.A., right? That's why you trade for the best at the position. If we had our situation figured out, we're not trading the best of the position. And there's nobody who has any brains that are disagreeing with us on that. And there's nobody behind the scenes who are disagreeing with us on that, because it's basically facts. And I think if they had the situation figured out, I don't think Myles Garrett would be in any hurry to make a trade then. Hey, just pay me more money. Everybody's just going to pay me more money. I get to stay here. He liked the area. Maybe things do change, but he wasn't going to go to some slum. He was going to go and play for a good football team, which are the Rams. So that had to change all this. No matter what I wanted to tell myself in my love of Dion or whatever, even though I wasn't that zealous, but no matter what I wanted to tell myself, I had to change because of that. And so now I have to focus on the now and how to figure out who's going to start now and what we have now and for the future. And Brennan Sorsby is a part of that conversation. How much am I willing to give up? Because I'm over here wringing my hands and clutching pearls. And not that I have a problem with I have a problem with what he did, but I'm not going to get on some moral high ground over it. I have a problem with what he did because of the fallout of it. You mentioned, Ken, how would you feel if he ended up with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Well, if he went over the Pittsburgh Steelers and struggled, and DK Metcalf, who has been cantankerous at times in his history, started saying, well, I don't know if I can trust this guy.
But you're saying, what if he struggled? What if he was good?
If he's good, then I guess I have to wear that. Just like you had to wear Baker Mayfield being good at Tampa Bay in the early part. Just saying.
And like, he came back down to earth.
I'm ready to be wrong.
Can't win a Super Bowl with Baker.
I'm ready to accept the consequences of my actions and my words. And I don't think that he's beyond redemption. But I know that the moment there's a pass that doesn't go to wherever we think it's supposed to go, these phone lines are going to light up on Monday morning. And if it continues to happen that way, he could naturally come out in the NFL and struggle. You think Jerry Jeudy is going to keep his mouth quiet?
Wait, why Jerry Jeudy? What is that?
Jerry Judy's had been a guy who's had his opinion out there about QBs in the past. Jerry Judy's been I'm thinking about the veteran on the football team.
I wouldn't mind if they traded Jerry Jeudy.
I know you wouldn't mind, and neither would they. But does it or does it not add more? Does it or does it not add more problems to my organization? It adds more problems to my organization. See, that's what I'm saying. See, this is uncharted waters. And what I'm pointing out is I'd rather not be the experiment. That cannot bother you. It's going to bother me. I'd rather not be the experiment.
But we've gone over this. My big issue with you throughout the last year.
Oh, you have plenty of issues with me over last year.
And I think it's well chronicled is you don't want to take any risk of any sort because of maybe it's Watson, maybe it's whatever.
I want the surest thing possible. Excuse me for wanting the closest thing to a surest thing.
Unless you have the number one overall pick. And even this year, Fernando Mendoza, was he with no risk?
But did you hear me say no? But did you hear me saying anything nasty about Dante Moore? Do you hear me saying anything? I'm not even really saying anything nasty about Brennan Sorsby, other than I'm not ready to make that type of investment in him.
You would have taken Dante Moore last year if he had been available?
Dante Moore at number 2? Yeah, I thought if we were at number 2, yeah, I thought so.
I thought he
didn't want to play for the Jets. I don't know if he'd be too thrilled about playing for the Browns.
See, you were my criticism of you.
I'd be willing to take a swing at Dante Moore, yeah, because I'm afraid to take a swing at anything.
Yeah, it seemed every name that got brought up, you didn't want to take a swing, but yet you wouldn't endorse Shedeur.
It's much easier. You're right. It is much easier to sit here and say, I don't like this one, that one, this one, that one, than to stand out there and want one. That goes back to Deshaun Watson in 2012 or 2017.
You're not getting a perfect prospect. But it's not going to exist. And I think we've even learned from some of the, quote, perfect prospects of the last 30 years.
That many problems?
They weren't so perfect.
Do I need that many problems? Do I need that many problems where people are suing major entities over each other over that guy? Can I just have some problems? Can I just have, his vision to the corner isn't that great. The way he holds the ball. I mean, I'd much rather have oh my God, he pats the ball before he throws, which I don't know. I thought that was the stupidest argument ever about Shedeur, but regardless, I'd rather have those problems than
So you just think you can't...
the problems we talk about with Brendan Sorsby, the problems we talk about with all these guys.
You think gambling is of all the things of all the problem childs we've argued over it over the years.
No.
You think gambling is the one that's hardest to come back from?
No, I don't. I think I don't think it's the hardest to come back from. You could do your damnedest to just not gamble. I've never been through that problem, so I don't know. So I don't want to sit there and act like it's an easy thing to overcome.
I don't know. I'm with you. I really don't know. They're going to have real conversations with
I'd
them.
rather learn.
I just want to be open-minded to it.
I'd rather see a lesson that the Cardinals set or the Dolphins or the Jets set, and that's fine. I don't need to be the experiment for a guy who's openly admitted to having a gambling addiction, playing quarterback, the most important position for my football team. Like back in Josh Gordon, when we took Josh Gordon in the supplemental draft in 2012, I wasn't ringing pearls over him. He's a wide receiver. If he works out, he works out. And he could have worked out had he not had the problems that he had. You brought up Perrion Winfrey. Perrion Winfrey was 4th round, and he didn't stop us from taking any other defensive ends ever. Brendan Sorsby may stop you from taking another quarterback.
Well, if he's good.
It may stop you in 2026.
If he's really good,
How many chances am I going to get to see him? Because I don't know if he's going to be eligible to play because of what the judge may or may not say, or if there's even going to be a judge. So if he doesn't even get a chance to play, if Roger Goodell decides to stick it to him and go, no, you're a football player now in the NFL, you're going to pay the piper just like everybody else. You're done for a year. I'm supposed to go into next year and say, we're fine. We have Brendan Sorsby lined up. We don't have to go after if we end up with the number 2 overpick, Dante Moore, or Julian Sand, or Jade Maava, or any of the other guys that I've written down and taken copious notes on this list for.
I cannot wait to see how this supplemental, he has to have the name in by the 22nd, so he's got
June 22nd.
He's got 6 days.
Well, it seems that he'll probably do that today.
I just received the email on the draft odds and where it could go.
Ooh.
You want to do that at 9:45? You want to hear it now?
Well, we got Justin Termini coming up at 9:22, but I want to hear him at 9:45.
All right.
Also, I woke up the whole neighborhood at 1 a.m. last night. I'll tell you why. Coming up at 9:45 on the Fan. Extend Technologies in Broadview Heights. XTENDAV.com. I think Justin would even agree with us on this. I know that Justin watches ball for a living, so he knows.
Jeff Thomas.
On YouTube, just got to see a little show. Justin Termini joins us right now. He does a little show. It's the NBA Today on Sirius XM NBA Radio. Justin Termini is one of the hosts. It's him and Eddie Johnson. I like Eddie more, but Justin's the one who makes himself available. Hi.
How you doing? Also, I want you promoting my YouTube page. Termini Crashes Out, where I don't have to deal with Eddie Johnson. So go to YouTube, search Termini Crashes Out, and you get a solo version of JT.
I subscribe to you. I haven't seen one in recently, though. Where the hell has your videos been? Did you put one up?
Well, Termini got one up there last night. Yes, he was having difficulty when he was on the road at the finals and getting one up, but because he had a lot of different stuff that was going on.
Okay. Well, we'll make sure everybody. Termini Crashes Out on YouTube. Tone, take her away.
Justin, you're not one of these that are trying to immediately, just because it was the most recent thing that happened, put this finals run ahead of LeBron and what he did with the Cavaliers in 2016. You're not doing that, are you?
Well, I mean, listen, in regards to like a finals run, like through the playoffs, I mean, certainly it's up there with some of the best that we've ever seen. They outscored their opponents by 283 points, and they were 16-3, which is the 7th best record ever. But where I don't know about putting it up there with what happened in 2016. I think you can make the argument this is a better team, this Knicks team. But I will say it's not an all-time great team. You can't win 53 games during the regular season, which the Knicks did, and be the 3rd seed and be considered one of the great teams of all time.
I mean, how do we explain what we just witnessed, Justin? Because Knicks fans a year ago when they lost to the Pacers, they said, well, we can't win a championship with this team, which is what Cavs fans are saying right now. And then at no point this year did they ever look special. Yeah, they had good moments, but they were down 2-1 against the Hawks. And again, people were saying can't win with Karl Anthony Towns, can't win with Brunson and Towns defensively out there. And then they proceeded to go on one of the magical runs we've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and everybody that we talked to out at the finals said they weren't the same team after Game 3 against Atlanta, and they changed their philosophy. And it's a philosophy, I mean, that you guys know well because James Harden dribble, right? And it's that heliocentric offense. You got it with him. You got it with Luka. And you had it with Jalen Brunson. And again, we saw it at times again in the finals where they reverted to that, certainly in Game 5, where they closed it out and Brunson had 45 of the 94 points. But for the most part, like tail end of the Atlanta series, Philadelphia against you guys when they played the Cavaliers, I mean, they were moving the ball like they were the 70 Knicks or the 70 Blazers or the 86 Celtics. I mean, they were one of the better passing teams out there. And I think it is truly an example of one of the few examples of the sum is greater than the sum of the part, whatever the hell that saying is, because I just think that the chemistry, these guys playing in college, it's filled with a bunch of good guys who sacrificed. I think it had to do with, them liking each other and truly playing as one. So it's one of those rare teams like that. I mean, to me, one of the more likable teams in NBA history.
I've seen a team like the Knicks with all the experience in the postseason go out and beat San Antonio. I've seen 8 different champions in 8 years. So those are things that I think should go for the Cavs. But I don't know if I mean that. I don't know if I feel it. What do you think the Cavs' chances are? Are they closer? Are they further away? How far away are they?
I mean, I think they're stuck in that little weird spot where you keep hitting it. I'm not saying they're as good as say the 90s Blazers or the early 2000 Sacramento Kings, which kept banging on the door and they just couldn't get through. I think those teams are actually a lot better than Cleveland is right now. Heck, you dealt with that with Cleveland, right? With the Mark Price, Brad Daugherty, Larry Nance team. They were really good teams. They just couldn't get over the hump. And I think you're kind of stuck in that weird spot again And, the Giannis thing is going to tell you a lot here in the next couple of days as well, wherever he ends up, because, he could go to Boston, where I'm located. And if he goes there, that's a massive upgrade for them. He goes down to Miami. I don't know if that makes Miami a contender yet, because the roster would be devoid of any talent around him, and maybe Bam Adebayo. But I would say that Cleveland's still a good distance away, because the other thing is, okay, even if they are to get to the finals next year, and say it's against San Antonio. Well, San Antonio now is going to be a much better team because they went through this process of needing to take their lump. So I don't think San Antonio is going to be this bad again. Like New York got him at the perfect time, because I actually do think San Antonio is more talented than the Knicks. I think the reason that they lost is just because they hadn't been hardened by the postseason, much like the Heat there in 2011, where Dallas got him for that reason, even though Miami was more talented. You go to 2022 with the Warriors and the Celtics. I think the Celtics were the more talented team, but Golden State beat them because they had been hardened by the experience. And I think that's the same reason why San Antonio lost this finals. They just didn't have the veterans or the experience like New York. That's not going to be a problem next year.
Are you surprised at some of the reaction to Wemby in the finals? 22 years old, I thought was incredible in this playoff run. Even the choke games in the fourth quarter, like he was the reason they were in any of these games to begin with. And yet, your buddy Bill Simmons says he was disappointed by Wemby in the finals. And I'm like, man, I thought Wemby was spectacular. He's just a little young.
Yeah, so I think it's like you got to look at it through two different lenses. For a 22-year-old, I don't think it's disappointing at all. And he's going to grow. It's one of the great 22-year-old seasons that we've ever seen. And you can see how he's going to be an all-time great. Now, if you want to say, like, through the lens of, he's the best player in the sport, which a lot of people want to say, well, hold up a second, because if you're the best player in the sport, you need a go-to move offensively. He doesn't have a go-to move offensively. Now, I think he will add one, but it's difficult to say when you have, you don't have a go-to move that you're the best player in the sport. And the other issue I have is, all right, like say Jokic, for example, doesn't really defend at all. At least he's on the freaking court for 44 minutes, 45 minutes. You can't be the best player in the sport if you have to sit out with 5 minutes left and Luke Cornett in a 2-point game is playing because you don't have the conditioning. So he's got to get an offensive move. He's got to get the conditioning. I will say that. And then in regards to like big picture with people criticizing him, again, LeBron wasn't criticized until 2010, where people accused him of, or 2009, because they lost as the favorite to Miami, to Orlando. Then 2010, he's accused of quitting against the Celtics in Game 5 before he then went down to Miami. But he was like 25, 26 before he first got criticized. You don't criticize a 22-year-old, right? So I think you got to give him a little bit of a break there. But again, you look back at this finals, you're going to think Wembanyama, you're going to think the pass off the back, you're going to think of a couple of clutch missed free throws, you're going to think of blowing a 29-point lead. That's all on the resume. The game-winning shot he missed in Game 2. So, like, there were some plays that he was involved in that you're going to look back on years. You could overcome it. LeBron overcame 8 points in 2011. Magic Johnson overcame Tragic Johnson. But it still wasn't the best thing to stick on the resume, some of the individual plays.
I'll tell you this, Justin. I'm going to get back to the Cavs here in a second. But what I like so much about him is that I actually think that we finally found a guy who can carry that torch from LeBron. Like I think we tried to force it with Zion, Luka, Jokic, a couple other guys. This guy's a villain to some people already. We've seen real dominance there. I think that he could be the next iconic generational guy that everybody measures up against. I like him because of that.
Yeah, listen, he's got the talent, obviously, and he's also got the personality. Whether you like the personality or you don't, you care. Like, he upsets people. He evokes emotion. So that's really all that matters, whether you like the guy or you don't. 50% of the population, including myself, can't stand LeBron. Hasn't prevented him from being the face of the league for the last 20 years. So Wembanyama will kind of be the same way. And I like it because he's different from LeBron in that, and I said this on the show yesterday, LeBron, when he came into the league, it was like you were more likely to see him make it out with Chris Paul and Dwayne Wade at midcourt than you were a fight. And Wembanyama, it seems the opposite, where, he's not shaking people. Like, what do you want? People criticize LeBron because he's too friendly with his opponents and he's teaming up with them. And now they're criticizing Wembanyama because he doesn't want to shake their hands. So, I like the fact that he's got a little bit of a different personality.
You get used to people being friends for 20 years, and a guy comes in there and he's such a Richard about things. I think it does jar people. But again, I like that part of it. I really do. All right, I got to ask you about James Harden. I put this out there because I wanted to know if it was just a straw man. We had a person on the station kind of go after the James Harden trade, and I went, I don't know if that's radio straw man guy or that's real. And I had a lot of people who are Cavs fans. They believe that the James Harden trade is already a failure. Do you believe it's a failure?
Yeah, I mean, listen, and I liked it. You
do? You believe it's a failure?
No, I said I liked it at the time, right? Going after, just because I think he's got a higher ceiling than Darius Garland. Garland's got all these toe issues. Who the heck knows if that's going to be rectified? And he's also more available than Darius Garland. So
and will be cheaper this year too.
Yeah, so I didn't mind the trade at the time, but I mean, up to now, it's a failure. He was horrific in the postseason, and you
that's
had
not true. He was not. That's not true. He was not. There are no numbers that support what you just said. You just pulled something out of thin air because you listen to your pod bros, Ryan Russillo, Bill Simmons. Yeah. Come up with a thought on your own, Justin Termini. My goodness.
Absolutely. So first of all, Anthony Lima's got to look at the spreadsheet. Oh, the numbers indicate. I actually watch the games. I don't need to look at the numbers. And by the way,
Kenny Atkinson also said they'd be sitting at home if they had Darius Garland in the first round.
And he also said that they won 2 of the 3 games based
off
they did
analytics.
Too.
I thought
just like you. Kenny and you, and sorry, Kenny, I got to take a shot at you in order to take a shot at Anthony, but he's going at me with the numbers. What do the numbers say about his defensive performance down the stretch of game 1 when you're up by 20 points and you blow that and he's standing there with
So you blamed Harden when, by the way, Brunson hit 7 insane shots, which he did against the Spurs too. That makes Harden some terrible guy. I guess it means the Spurs are a terrible defensive team too now. Maybe just give Brunson some credit, hitting some great shots. And I don't know, Kenny Atkinson could have helped.
No, exactly. Kenny could have called the timeout, I think, as he said, and he has admitted to. They could have moved him off. And, again, I described Harden at the time like, listen, at least, Brunson had to work against the score on Wembanyama and Steph Castle. He didn't have to work on James Harden.
He had 3 fadeaway bank shots going to the baseline. Those weren't some easy opportunities. Come on. Your hatred of James Harden is now contaminating all your opinions.
I said I liked the trade at the time, okay? But now you have to give him an extension because you already promised him one, basically, when you made the move. Is it going to get better for James Harden? Is he going to improve moving forward? I would say that at this stage of his career, he's only going to regress, and it wasn't good this past season. So tell me how that's good.
You didn't like him saving the season with his 30-point virtuoso performance in Game 5 against Detroit? You didn't like that?
He does that every year. He did it in Philadelphia, where he gave you a fantastic
Seems like a good player then.
I think without Embiid in Game 1 and Game 3, and then he completely crapped the bed in Game 6 and Game 7, where he didn't show up, just as he did against Denver, where he was great in Game 6, and then he didn't show up in Game 7. So, again, what did it get you this past year? You think it's going to be better? Now, if your goal is just to be like a conference finals team or a second-round team and a really good regular season team, fine. Be happy with that. You asked me if I thought they were a contender, and I'm telling you, with James Harden as one of their 2 best players, they're not a contender. And by the way, they ran the offense through him like he was their best
player. Which
they
shouldn't have.
Donovan Mitchell.
That's the mistake. That's the mistake.
If they're going to use them like that, then I hate the trade, okay? It is a failure if they're going to take the ball out of Donovan Mitchell's hands and put it in James Harden's hands like it's 2018.
I think
James
the problem
Harden.
is, Justin, if you watch those games, unfortunately, there were a lot of those grenades thrown to James Harden late in the shot clock from a Donovan Mitchell who seemed to be, as he is every year, gassed the later his teams get into the postseason, and they finally got past the second round. And Donovan still had, great moments, but, we're kind of saying the same thing about him. We say about a lot of guys in this league. Like, can you win if he's your best player?
So you don't like the Donovan. So what you're telling me now is you don't like the Donovan Mitchell trade.
No, I loved the Donovan Mitchell trade. I also thought that Evan Mobley would take the requisite steps forward by this time in year 4 that would takes some of the workload off other guys. And unfortunately, he's still not really able to score one-on-one, and that's a problem.
So whose fault is that? Is that Evan Mobley's? Is it the organization's? Because that's why they got rid of J.B. Bickerstaff, right? I mean, one of the main reasons
I think all the above.
we don't like the development of Evan Mobley. So, like we talked to Kenny last offseason out at Las Vegas, and I'm interested if he has the same thing to say this offseason, if he still thinks he can be a top 5 MVP candidate. Because when we talked to him in Vegas about a year ago, a little less than a year ago, he said that the next 2 or 3 years, Evan Mobley should turn into a top 5 MVP candidate. He wasn't even the third best player on the team. Or he was the third best. He wasn't even the top 2 player on the team.
Don't look at me. I'm just enjoying what I was listening to. I love it when Lima has Termini on the ropes.
Can I ask you why you two are the ones getting paid? I'm doing this for free, and I'm the one talking. You guys are sitting there in silence.
Well, it's an interview. I was sitting here in silence. Lima was owning you in the argument.
Termini, where does LeBron go? What does he do? We got 30 seconds. Where does LeBron go?
Well, I mean, I wish he would go to a retirement home, but I'm going to anticipate that he wants to go back to the Lakers. If he liked Cleveland, he would have stayed there. He doesn't like living there, so I'm going to assume that he stays in LA.
Don't take pot shots at Cleveland just because Lima beat you.
I love Cleveland. I just don't think LeBron likes it.
Sounds like a backhanded compliment. LeBron still owns a very large home in this region and businesses.
The only issue I have with Cleveland is
he draws a lot of water in this town. You don't draw nothing.
Yeah, the only issue I have with Cleveland is inferior sports talk radio. I mean, there's really no good place to tune in for it.
What are you trying to say?
I'm trying to take a shot at your ability to host a show.
Why are you taking a shot at me? I'm not the one getting owned here on Cleveland radio in an interview.
Oh, my God, I got owned by Cleveland radio with 4 people listening. What am I going to do?
It should make you feel even worse that Lima beat the brakes off you.
I don't believe it.
Go back and listen.
It wasn't as if I do go back and listen, I'll be the only one listening.
Justin, look, we wish we had a bigger audience at times. I'm sure when they took you off NBA TV, you thought you'd have a bigger audience. I mean,
now we're getting now.
It sucks, but what are you going to do?
Hey.
Listen, it was really disappointing. I think the time we brought you on as an interview was one of the reasons they said we can't be having this inferior product on the station.
It's just it's gotten too personal now.
It really has.
I'm uncomfortable.
I thought this was going to be fun, Justin.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be a nice thing, Justin.
Well, I mean, you're the ones that tried to. At least you did a better effort than the Cavaliers against the Knicks. At least this was a competitive. This was a competitive back and forth. Neither one of us just laid over and died.
Justin Termini. Find him on Twitter at Termini Radio. He is the host of Termini Crashes Out on YouTube. He wanted me to promote that because you said it. And then obviously he's on NBA Today on SiriusXM NBA Radio. Justin, thank you so much for the time. All the best to you and yours. Please pet your dog for me.
She's right here listening, and we're about to go outside and play. Right, Susan?
Man. Just when I thought he was the biggest bastard ever, like he still has that dog. That dog's nice. I'm hanging up on him. Justin Termini, host of NBA Today on SiriusXM NBA Radio. He's on the Wise Heart Right. We make it right. Call Kyle Right hotline. Coming up in 5 minutes, the Sorsby odds are out. Owen gives them to us, and there's 3.
ones who get it done.
You can now watch The Fan live on YouTube. Catch The Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima from 6 till 10 a.m. Baskin and Phelps 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. And Afternoon Drive with Nick Wilson and Jonathan Peterlin from 2 to 7 p.m. Each and every weekday. It's free. Subscribe to 92.3 The Fan on YouTube.
I need to know how I punish my sons when I get home. I'm opening. I really am asking all of them, but I'll open it up to you.
You got to tell me what the offense was, Ken, because I don't know.
Well, I tried to lay down. They were raising hell outside in the driveway. It's summertime. They were raising hell. We're going to get to the Sorsby odds here in a second. They ain't going anywhere, not just yet.
Well, they might. The odds might change.
Yeah, that's true. But they were raising hell out in the driveway. I had to get up from my slumber. I wasn't even asleep yet, so I was mad about that. I said, you guys are getting in the house.
Had you demanded it already?
Demanded what? A restful sleep?
Yeah.
Like my father? Yeah. And my father's father before him? No, not at that point, but I did remark, I got to be pissed off right before I go to bed. What a great way to try to fall asleep. That's what I was yelling. And then I woke up to use the bathroom at around 12:47 a.m. I checked my phone because obviously we were going through the Sorsby rigmarole, and I wanted to see if I got any other texts. And boy, howdy did I get one. But I also got one from my neighbor that said, your garage door's open. And I got agitated, and I went downstairs to close the garage door because we have just had a birthday party, and there's garbage in there, and I don't need any of the critters getting in my damn garage. So I go downstairs. Every light in the house is on. Every light in the house is on. And the front door is open. Only the storm door. Storm door's not locked. TVs are on downstairs. And I flip out. At this time, it's about 12:50-something, and I proceed to raise hell and wake the entire home up. And I can't imagine what my sons were saying, because Jonah has a bunk bed in there, and Eli will go sleep up on the top one. I can't imagine what he was thinking, seeing my silhouette fill up the entire doorway, screaming at them, telling them that there will be hell to pay this afternoon when I get home because you left the house in a complete state of insecurity and disrepair. So what the hell do I do when I get home? Because I can't just keep yelling. I can't
summer
do that.
Was going to be carefree.
Nope.
They thought it was going to be the time of their lives, and they got to worry about this all day.
So I'm a pretty strong-willed person when it comes to them. I've walked right in and unplugged their TV and walked out with it and not said a word. You're going to do as I say. This ain't no negotiation.
Didn't you throw their toys in the koi pond?
No, not the koi pond. There's a swamp behind. I'm getting rid of that pond tomorrow. Next week.
Toys in the toy box.
I got a company coming to take care of that pond next week. I can't wait. But the swamp's always going to be there, obviously. That ain't all mine. And I've thrown their toys in the swamp to prove a lesson that I don't care. And if you guys are going to fight over it, you're all going to lose it. Now, I'm not going to throw anything expensive in there. That's just a gag on me. But I've thrown a couple of, the little monster trucks out there. What do you think I should do when I get home, Owen?
Well, it's hard. It's the middle of the day, right? The real punishment comes when you got to get them up.
I won't be home until about 3 in the afternoon.
Got to wait till they go to bed. I would have woke them up this morning before I left the house. If you want to be a real vindictive, wad about it. Yeah, that's where I'd do it. But it's tough. It's summertime. It's kids. You're hoping that you've picked the right neighborhood, and that's not a problem when those things happen. But I get it. There should be some sort of penance. We have done the my father's favorite was we had a gravel driveway, and he was like, move these rocks from one end of the driveway to the other.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I do a lot. We have a bunch of trees, so it's pick up sticks. You just pick up sticks until I'm done with sticks, and the sticks never end. They just keep going.
That's a good idea.
We do a lot of lawn cleanup.
I got to find something really painstaking.
Yeah. Something that takes away from their enjoyment.
Definitely manual labor, because you can't just take away their phones or take away their games if you've done all that.
Well, it's got to be something that sticks in their head. I never want to do that again, so that when they do go to bed, they will make sure. Because I have the same problem where my kids will well, I thought somebody else would get it. My 16, anytime a kid turns 16 in my house, they're the last ones through the garage door, especially, and they'll be like, well, I just thought somebody else would get in. It's 10:30 at night, buddy. Nobody else is walking through that door. You need to just go ahead and shut it. So then you find a nice mile run for them to go on or something like that.
Yeah,
we do a lot of mile running.
Man, was I agitated this morning. All right, I'll figure it out. Did you have anything you wanted to suggest?
See, this is what's so hard for me. The stuff you hear that I'm yelling at the kids about, it just has to sound like nonsense compared to what you're dealing with.
Yeah, you're kind of learning from me, and then you're learning from Owen as well
100%.
as you go through the steps. Because again, like back in my day, I just got my ass whooped. I'm not allowed to do that. They'll call the police on me. Do you have the odds for Sorsby?
Get off the YouTube real quick.
What do we got over there?
Just watching Tierney crashes out.
Yeah. Crashing out over his ratings.
Right now, currently, Cleveland Browns, Brendan Sorsby's next team, the Cleveland Browns, are 11th.
Really?
11th in odds.
All right.
At 18-1.
Where's Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh is past. They have. I can't even find them on here.
Wow, really?
They're no, they're 7-1. They're 7-1 odds. Yeah.
Where's that at?
They are 4th.
They're 4th.
Yeah. Jets, Cardinals, Dolphins, Steelers.
I find their mistake to make.
Vikings.
Their mistake to make. 18-1, the Browns.
They also have what round would he go in? Third round's 3-1. That's best odds. Undrafted is next best at 7-2. That's 3.5-1.
Okay.
Second round 4-1. Fourth round 4-1. And then after that, they're like, no, they aren't taking a first. They aren't taking a 7th. Yeah.
We're back tomorrow 6 to 10. Thanks to Ryan Wilson. Thanks to Termini. Thanks to you guys for listening. Have a wonderful day. Go Guardians. Hey, sounds good.
Where's your entourage now?
Cool, I got on the last show.
Oh, boy.
Please, 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 please. I can already